Hello. 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 I'm not gonna lie. I had a real bad sleep. I had a real bad sleep. Followed up by they were doing testing, fire alarm testing in my building. So me and Milo had to leave the building, go over to a friend's place. We had a lovely day, played some board games, right? Had a wonderful time, but I definitely have not slept. I feel very underslept. I feel very like, oh, this is me today. I just wanna lay back. Just wanna lay back, have a nice sleep. I'm a little worried that the chat's not working, actually. Let me switch this. Switch. It didn't do that thing where it pops up. There's like a thing it pops up every so often. I'm a little worried about that, actually. Well, if nobody comes in... hello, John. There we go. There we go. Hi, DM. How you doing today, bud? No TikTok today as well. I accidentally... I accidentally dropped some water on my phone. So my phone is in rice right now because and the thing that's so annoying is that the water fell right on this hairline crack that has appeared on the screen of my phone. And so I was just like, that's exactly what I need right now. I really need my phone to be destroyed for sure. Happy belated 40th. Well, thank you, DM. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be 40, you know? I'm a man grown. They can't take it away from me now. Nobody can say that I'm a youngin' anymore. Oh, you're just a young guy. You know, you'll grow out of communism. You get to be communism is something that you think of when you're a teenager. Well, haha. Here we are again. Good to see you, radio. Content 40? You bet. I did it. I made it. I'm here. 40. Eat it, universe. You thought you could stop me from hitting 40? Too bad. In 25 years, you'll be able to get a basic income in the form of OAS. Yeah, something to look forward to. I am looking forward to these next years, you know? I gotta tell you. Like, I feel like the formative year... Like, from 1 to 10, you're basically worthless, right? You're just like a monkey, essentially. You're just like, I'm here! Brah! Right? You don't know anything, and like anything, and you're very dumb. And then from like 10 to 20, you're essentially just dealing with puberty, more or less, right? You're on the puberty arc. Your brain is still like forming. You still don't know anything. You're just being ground into this educational system that tries to teach you to subserviate yourself to the capitalist death cult, right? And then 20 to 30 is like confusing. Maybe you go to university, you have no fucking idea what you're doing. You're just getting into your career. And then 30 to 40 seems to be just like coming to terms with the trauma that has just been inflicted on you. Not it's not all capitalist trauma. Like the trauma of existence itself. And we're not very good as a species and as a people actually coming to terms with like there's this trauma that exists with being randomly generated into the world. And how do I know that we don't deal with the trauma of being randomly generated into the world? Because we don't have a good handle on privilege, like easy concepts to understand, concepts like privilege, concepts that some people are born into more powerful positions than others, right? That there is anyone in the society walking around saying like, no, you just need to bootstrap yourself, and completely ignoring that like, yeah, if you're born to a family that has $1 billion, your life experience is going to be different than being born into even a middle class family, right? And so that's a trauma, and we're constantly dealing with those sorts of traumas. And it just really dawned on me that like I hit 40, and I don't need to deal with any of that anymore, right? I have no illusions anymore. I'm not going to stand here and be like, maybe I'll go back to school and start a career and all that. So, like, what am I left with? Well, I'm left with doing the things that I want to do and conceding as little time as possible to the death cult in order to facilitate that. And I look ahead and think to myself, oh, like, it took 40 years, boink, to get here. And unless something dramatic happens, which it could, right? I don't control the fates of the universe. I've got another 40 years to go. And so that's the same amount of time. And sure, there's like the physical decline and all that kind of stuff, and that's normal, right? That's part of the journey. But in terms of my intellect, in terms of my capacity to see the world, in terms of my wisdom, in terms of my compassion, right? I feel like I've got a good 40 years, and that these 40 years are going to be really great for me. I feel like I'm in a good position to enjoy the passage of time, which, if you're not enjoying the passage of time, then what are you even doing here? You know? What are you really even doing here if you're not enjoying yourself? That, to me, is probably number 2 on the list of extremely strange things that we as a society think. That people who say we should enjoy ourselves are considered degenerate or something. Or it's like an eye-rolling position. That's like, no, the proper position is that we should suffer. Suffer, worship suffering. And I'm like, something is wrong with your brain if you think this. Like, if you're legitimately walking around in the world thinking that, like, it is good to suffer, that builds character, I just think you're dumb. Like, we should enjoy ourselves. We should be enjoying our time here. And of course, people will say, like, oh, you just want people to lay around and get fat and all that stuff. It's like, no, like, being healthy and fit and being able to participate in the world with a healthy, strong body is part of enjoying your existence, right? It's not just like eat cookies on the couch. But, like, why should anyone do something if they don't enjoy it? Like, for real. And the problem with today's modern capitalist society is if everybody said, well, if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to do it, then most things wouldn't happen. And then we would find out very quickly that most of these things shouldn't happen and shouldn't be done. Like, most of the jobs that exist in the world, in North America, simply should not be done. Just, period. We should cease doing them. And if that means going out and lying in a field, fantastic. The world has denied you the Elysium Fields once again. Oh, it'll happen. It'll happen. No need to rush it. Did you hear about the UK implementing a no means tested basic income for all low income citizens? I don't believe you. Like, straight up. Like, I just don't believe you. Like, UK Universal Basic Income, UBI. Like, I straight up don't actually believe you. Because, like, the UK right now is being run by... Like, you want me to search this up on YouTube? This is going to be a great stream, I can already tell, because there's no TikTok people. It's literally just us. So I can be as lackadaisical as I want to be. Like, is this it?
We've announced that this spring, millions of those on the lowest incomes will get £301 directly into their bank accounts. This is the first of several payments direct from the government to the most vulnerable people's pockets in 2023 and early 2024. In addition, there will be 2 more payments for low-income families of around £300, meaning they will receive up to £900. On top of this, for many pensioners, there is an extra £300. And for millions of disabled people, an additional £150 grant. This will mean some households could receive as as much as £1,350. No one will need to apply for any of these payments as they are paid automatically. This is all part of a £26 billion package for 2023 and beyond to help every household in the UK with the rising cost of living. They build on similar payments sent to millions of families last year as we continue to shield those in need from global pressures fueling rising prices.
I'll believe it when I see it. Straight up. Straight up. I am so disillusioned with, especially the UK government. I'm so disillusioned with them that I assume that they're lying. Right? I just assume that they're lying. Yeah, I know the audio's weird, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think Compton's nailing it too. That yeah, sure, they'll give $300 to people, and then suddenly rent's up $300. Oh, I can't imagine what happened, right? We know how this goes. I don't believe them. I think this is another scam. I think that they are scamming people. I think that that's all the system is capable of generating. I don't think it's actually capable of doing a program like this that ends up actually benefiting the public. I think that they are doing something like this, and then, oh, look, the price of food went up 500% suddenly. Inflation, oh my god, the natural forces of the market, I guess. Right? That's what's going to happen. And, I think that they're using these sorts of programs and these sorts of ideas as a way to try to prevent overthrow and revolution. They've already passed legislation that makes it illegal to protest, right? So they're already enacting enormous draconian fascist level legislation to ensure that people will not go on the streets and protest out of fear for being arrested and thrown in prison. What makes us think that this is a legitimate thing that they're doing? What makes us think that this is serious? It's all well and good that they stand up and say out loud, yeah, we're definitely serious and 100% this is going to happen, no strings attached. But we all know who these people work for. So they've gone to their owners and they've said, hey, you've got a revolution coming. It's at your doorstep. It's brewing. We literally have to pass draconian fascist level Nazi legislation to incarcerate people if they want to stand outside and protest in order to prevent these things, right? So what are we going to do? And the owners are going, well, give them a couple $100, I guess, and yeah, I guess we'll try that, and yeah, I suppose, well, we definitely won't raise the price of chicken to $37 a pound like they've already done here in Canada. No, I don't believe them. I think that's a scam. I think it's a grift. I think it's a way to try to buy themselves an extra year, right? That's all. They know what's coming. They understand what's going to happen. They know that not only is the UK itself, the UK itself is a balkanized state, right? It left the EU, and it understands that Britain itself is likely going to fall and become fractious, right? That the provinces of London and Bristol and the Welsh, let alone the Irish and the Scots, right? They understand that it's all coming apart. How do they know? Because they've already done it once. And so this is a Hail Mary kind of thing, but the corporate power structure will not permit this to work because they're psychopaths. They'll see, oh, everyone's got a $300 extra, so suddenly everything's more expensive. That's what's going to happen. So what's fucking going to happen? Content says, can we be honest about the $7.25 an hour thing? The majority of Americans don't work at that rate. Most businesses know they have to pay at least $10 an hour. Most going rates are about $13 to $14 an hour. Just wondering if it's useful using the minimum wage as a talking point. The fact that the minimum wage is $7.25 on paper is a huge issue regardless. I mean, I've never really cared like, if you're going to gather in force and actually push on an issue, it should be that we get the means of production. Like, that really should be it. That we should not be asking for a minimum wage increase. That's what they should be offering us, right? Like, that's always been my point, like, more or less. Like, why are we begging constantly for scraps? We literally should be saying regularly out loud all the time, constantly, workers should own this and you should go away. Like, we literally should look at the owners and be like, you're worthless, you provide nothing of value, you're pathetic losers who are just fail sons of your daddies, who literally have these businesses because literal monarchs and kings gave them permission to have them. You should fucking go away, fail sons, and we should run this place, and you should not participate in this. And that should be our starting position. That they should have nothing, and we should have everything. Because we do all the work, and they do nothing important whatsoever. And then from there, they can say to us, well, what if we raise the minimum wage? And then we'll say, how about you fucking go die? Right? And, like, that should be the position. Like, it just seems to me like, why are we beginning in this weak position of negotiation where we're bargaining at such a loserly kind of state? It just seems to me like we're setting ourselves up to be losers. That we're basically going to our owners hat in hand, being like, sir, please. Can I please have enough so that I can pay for an apartment and food? Please, sir? Apartment and food, the basic necessities of what makes a civilization function? Like, it just seems like we're fucking total losers. Like, and we're such simps for these guys. Just, and I don't understand. Like, I don't understand at all. I mean, I put this up mainly as a joke, just because, like, I think Americans are so thick that they need help trying to understand these basic concepts. So I just put this up as a joke, mainly. Grinning says, my landlord is scheduling a second inspection 2 months after the last one. I'm 200 below their claimed market rate. Yeah, any I guess what's going on? Yeah. UBI would increase aggressive landlords 1,000%, of course. Yeah, that sucks, Grinning. The last tenants in my place attracted a major drug bust in my area, but the landlord doesn't see the benefit of taking a $200 fantasy quote-unquote loss. Yeah, it's amazing to me, David. Good to see you, by the way, bud. It's amazing how people come to the defense of the landlords in the ownership class. Just this obvious, worthless, parasitic class that just is a boil on the side of the society that we would be much better off without. Like, just as a people. We'd just be better off without them. Now I will argue that by going by my pay, if I work overtime, I can buy almost 2.5 Big Macs an hour, which is a far cry from being able to buy 6 an hour. Yeah. Big Macs an hour. Sounds totally ANCAP. I don't know. Like, I do think that it is a measurement that is, I don't want to use the word useful, but, like, I was just saying yesterday, like, what do leftists struggle with, right? Leftists struggle with approaching the masses at the level that the masses are at, right? And I think that a big reason why that happens is that to become like a serious leftist, you have to do some reading, and you've got to get into theory, and you've got to know things, and you've got to have debates, and you've got to use your brain, and you've got to think, and you've got to put time in, and you sacrifice things, and this becomes an interest of yours. It becomes part of your ethos in your life, right? It becomes part of that. And the average citizen in North America is brain dead, right? So there's a disconnect there that is like a form of intellectual elitism that I think seeps in amongst the left. And I'm as guilty of it as the next person, right? And so if we want to reach out to the masses, we've got to do it on a level that they can understand. And here you go. Big Macs. How many Big Macs can you buy with your wage? How much does your wage buy in Big Macs? Here you go. Oh, guys, I can't believe it. I went and used the washroom right before I hit stream, and I got to use the washroom again. Sorry, guys. 1 second. I'll be right back. Ridiculous. Ridiculous, I say. Ave Maria. Sing Inagata Vida. Inagata Vida. Pretty big, pretty bird, get back to work. Just found your TikTok. Fantastic. So glad, Rusty. I'm not doing the TikTok stream right now because my phone fell into some water, or some water fell onto my phone, and so it's in the rice right now. And so it's just us today. It's just us. The regulars, the normies. Well, you guys are not the normies. The TikTok people are the normies. The regulars is better. I'm so glad you guys are all here, honestly. We're all here to witness the absolute catastrophe that is everything that exists in the world. Like, let's actually talk some news. Here's an interesting story, right? Like, how often have I talked about the balkanization of the United States, right? So this is from Sarah Ferris on Twitter. New. Representative Buddy Carter confirms to me that his Fair Tax Act will get its first ever floor vote as part of Speaker talks. Bill abolishes the IRS, eliminates the tax code, replacing income taxes with consumption taxes, rolling back pieces of GOP tax law. It was the demand of the 20 holdouts. This bill, this is a response from Jeff Irwin, this bill appears to be a 23 to 30% increase in sales tax. That is a massive tax increase that will widen economic inequality while crashing the economy with a punishing sales tax. So we all know consumption taxes do not matter to the rich. They have so much money and so much wealth that it doesn't affect them at all, but it really punishes. Like a 30% increase in sales tax, it means that basic goods will be 30% more expensive in America because there's an increase in sales tax to that degree, which just means that the mass of the populace will simply not buy those goods, which will crash the economy instantaneously. This is something that the GOP, the House, the Congress of the United States of America is actually seriously doing. And all it's going to do is accelerate the balkanization of the United States. Because everybody is going to go, oh my God, our government just made things 20 to 30% more expensive by vote, by consensus. Why are we even here? Why do we even abide by these absolute lunatics? It's going to absolutely fuel the separatists. It's going to absolutely fuel people who want to support independence movements. And I don't see it going any other way than places like California and Texas, right, the big ones, hitting the gas on this and saying, like, hey, do you want really, It's the easiest pitch in the world. It's the easiest pitch in the world. Do you want your goods and services to be 20% cheaper? If yes, vote yes on separation. Vote yes on independence. Like, this is insane. Like really. Like, insane is the word to use. That they are not interested in even managing this empire anymore. That it's just full gas on, let's go, Brandon. It's over. It's over if this kind of shit starts passing. Like, they're lunatics. They're lunatics that are going to lose their authority to govern. It's pretty nuts to watch. Yeah, the only people who should manage capital are socialists. I'm convinced. This is just faith. Like, yeah, manage capital into the dustbin of history. That's exactly right, Oddity. That's a good way of putting it. Like, just the system cannot reform itself, and it can't actually figure itself out. And moreover, it's just not interested in it. Like, we are genuinely talking about a ruling class that has deluded itself and is so delusional that it is actually saying out loud things like, if we go into Iraq, we'll be greeted as liberators. That the Mexicans will pay for the wall, right? And more, you got to start thinking that they can't just be cynically bullshitting people all the time. It's also got to be that to some degree they believe it. That they're so delusional and out of touch with reality that they actually think that these policies are going to work, and that the citizenry is not simply going to throw up its hands and say, oh, you've gone mad, right? Like, if they pass through this kind of legislation, they've gone mad. This is insanity. Literally, let's raise taxes on consumption of single mother's milk instead of Jeff Bezos shooting rockets at space. That's straight up what they're doing, and it's incredible to watch. It would only work if there were no deductions for businesses. The most likely outcome, if it passes, is that we have both huge sales tax and huge income tax. They won't give up income tax. I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, they've given up, like, massive corporate, like we are talking about delusional, crazed maniacs. Like, I genuinely think that their strategy at this point is to starve the poor. Like, really. I think the strategy is actually to watch the poor starve and die in the streets. Like, it seems to be the case. That if it's not their stated agenda, it's all of their actions are showing that that's what they're interested in doing. I'm sure the U.S. will totally not send their military into Cali or Texas if they do separate. Yeah, of course. No, I mean, independence movements are often rife with civil conflict, right? Now, I love libertarians. They would be the first to starve in their own utopia. Yeah. Yeah, I think what we are seeing is madness. Like, it's just madness. Like, I feel like if I was alive during the fall of the Roman Empire, I would be saying very similar things. I would just be like, that the ruling class has gone completely mad. That the systems that they are voted into power to manage have they have they've lost control of them. They don't know how the systems even operate. That the systems are larger than they are. And I think that most of the people who have involved themselves in these systems have become exclusively careerists and are exclusively self-interested. So they're not actually interested in maintaining these systems anymore. That straight up, they're like, I do not want to pay taxes. So I would like to see these things go away for me, personally me. And then they're like, okay, well, how do we actually make it so that anything works? Well, we will raise taxes on them. They should pay. They pay. I do not pay. They pay. And I really think it is that simple. That like the ruling class of America is just going, money me good. Good money. Me money good. And that's the intellectual level we're talking about. Yeah, they are sociopaths. Yeah, must I remind you that Bush and Cheney are spending their old days in peace? Yeah, shocking, right? Shocking. We have strayed far from God. I heard a leftist accuse Russia of being like Israel in this war. Embarrassing. Just an embarrassing statement, right? We know they lied and got millions of people killed for their own profit and nothing happens. Yep. Like, there are places they can't go, right? Like, there are places they can't go. But, like, they'll just die on their ranches, right? Old, and their kids will become important figures in the society, right? Oh, that's of the Bush family there, and we'll talk about the Bushes. Like, people will talk about George Bush. It's like, oh yes, the tactical error he made in Iraq, not the extreme demonic evil that he unleashed upon a people who had nothing to do with the Cassius Belli. Like literally, it's like imagine your next door neighbor to your east blew a hole in the side of your house, and you walked over to your neighbor on the west and stole his refrigerator. Like, it's this kind of fucking dumb shit. Like, we're such a dumbass people. Like, and unserious. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm really starting to learn about Americans, is how desperately unserious they are, right? They're all gun nuts, and they're all talking about how they gotta protect their freedoms and all that kind of, like, all that kind of shit. But it's all just it's all just role playing. It's all just cosplaying. It's like they're playing like a role playing game where like if instead of a gun they were using they were holding on to like staves and like throwing like foam balls at each other, it would be the same rhetoric, it'd be the same shit. They might as well just be cosplaying as wizards at this point for all the impact and effect that they're actually attempting to have in their own society, right? The fact that George W. Bush is going to die of old age tells you that we are a fucking demonic, backwards, fascist society. Like, these guys should be arrested and tried at The Hague. Very straightforwardly. Like, there's no and I don't think there should even be a debate about it. I think that somebody who stands up and says anything else is just a clueless rube who doesn't understand basics, like 1 + 1 = 2. That they need to go back to, like, actual school and maybe read a book or something. Like, we're in this, like, and we're just like paying the consequences of it. That now, because the ruling class knows explicitly that they literally can kill millions of people with no consequence whatsoever. They know that they can do this. They know that they can just carpet bomb, blow things up, do whatever they like, and there is zero consequences. Well, what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? They're going to jack consumption by 20 to 30%. And what are you going to do? You're going to cry about it? Yeah, okay. Right? You better vote blue no matter who. Yeah, vote blue no matter who. That's going to solve this problem, you guys. Yeah, for sure. Like, you're not going to do fuck all. You're not going to do fuck all. Right? That's the hard truth. Right? That's the hard truth that nobody wants to fucking admit. That you're just going to take it in the ass again. And you're not going to do fucking anything about it. You're going to go to work. Like you are now. Like, nobody's doing anything about this shit. And so why should they stop? Like, why should they stop? It's like we're watching a serial killer walk down the street, and everybody's standing on the street watching the serial killer walk towards the daycare. He looks in the daycare windows at the kids as they're playing. He walks into the daycare, and we're all watching him do it. And he picks the kid and says hi to the kid, takes the kid's hand, walks down the street, waves at us as we all watch him, and walks inside of his house quietly and closes the door behind him, and we never see that kid again. That's what we're doing. Every single fucking day at this point. Like, that's who we are. And then the next day, he comes back out of the house again, and we all watch him do it again. Over and over and over again. It's the same fucking routine. It becomes normal. It becomes banal. People are like, hey, who's that guy? Oh, that's the guy who murders children in front of all of us every single day. What a fucking normal society we have going on here. What a normal people we are. That's right, David. The kid had mass weapons destruction. Yeah. No, it was important. It's important for us to go in there and get those weapons of mass destruction that didn't actually exist. Super fucking important. Like, I gotta tell you, I was talking earlier about turning 40, and 100% one of the things that's happened now that I've turned 40 is I just have no more fucks for these people. If you are genuinely going to stand in front of me and defend these Nazis, like, if you're going to defend these people, I think you're a despicable person. Like, I think that you're genuinely reprehensible at this point. If you're going to stand up and attempt to defend the American empire and attempt to defend this system that exists that is obviously destroying everything, I think you're a total fucking loser. Like massive Nazi-level loser. Like, if you're Vosh, if you're Destiny, if you're one of these pathetic, simpering liberals, if you're like an AOC type, you're still walking around believing like, oh, America's got us, sure it needs some reforms, but it's a pretty decent society overall. Go fuck yourself. Like, go fuck yourself. You're just a fucking total loser. You just live in a fucking palace, right? You're the beneficiary of your rich parents who let you fucking do shit in your basement, right? You're an FBI snitch. You're just some loser who's trying to con everybody into keeping this grift alive so that you can just sit in front of your television screen ignorantly telling everybody that, oh, well, things are better, things are worse elsewhere. Like, eat my dick. Fuck off. I'm so over it. Like, I'm so fucking over it. Because it's gotten obvious now. Like, it's gotten obvious. And it's going to get more obvious. And it's going to get crazy obvious. Like, literally, what is it going to take for some of these losers to put two and two together? Is it actually going to take, like, legitimate CIA death squads walking through New York, shooting kids like they did in Afghanistan? Is that what it's going to take? Is it going to take, like, stormtroopers? Are we going to have to see, like, literal stormtroopers dressed up in, like, Star Wars stormtrooper gear, walking around with, like, M16s, just... Is that what it's going to take? Like, I think it will, for a lot of these guys who are just brain dead. That the energy of their body made it to their mouth, but not their brain. Like, straight up. That U.S. imperialism cannot be defended any longer. And this society can no longer be defended any longer. And yet, every time I go anywhere and look at any kind of social media thing, there's always some clueless loser who is actually standing up for the defense of this nation. And what's the result of it? Well, now we're getting people like Kanye. Right? We're getting these, like, overt neo-Nazis attempting to seize power through using the same rhetoric and the same tactics that worked for Donald Trump. Like, what a clown show. What a fucking clown show. And we all just go to work. We all just go to work. That's the best part. Everybody wakes up, goes, yep, time to go work for Jeffrey Epstein. Right? Time to go work for these overt, crazed psychopaths. Like, maybe it'll work itself out. Maybe we can vote our way out. I'm sure that psychopaths will respect that, right? If we vote our way out, right? That's definitely a serious thing that's 100% going to happen. Meanwhile, Top U.S. Marine Corps general in Japan says the U.S. military is setting the theater in the Asia Pacific for a future war with China, similar to how it set the theater in Ukraine after 2014. Dave DeCamp. So they're just admitting it. Like, I get banned places. Like, I get suspended on TikTok if I openly talk about what happened in Ukraine, right? But now you've got straight up the top U.S. Marine Corps general just admitting it. Yeah, we set the stage for war in Ukraine after 2014. Yeah, we couped the government there, started funding Nazi groups who started bombing ethnic Russians on the border of Russia in 2014, all the way to the invasion by Putin, right? So we set the stage, we did that on purpose, and now we're doing it again in the Asia Pacific for a war with China. Like, this is who we are now. Like, this is who we are. We're doing it out in the open for everyone to see. It's just that the average citizen is so absolutely thick and absolutely ridiculous and childish. Like, we're babyish now. If there ever was a period in American history where we may have been grown up, that's gone. Like, that's done. We're babies now. And we've just got this baby ethos, and we're going to pay seriously. Call of Duty brain. Yeah, I think that's right. Just fucking call it like we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. Simple as that. There's no, you don't need to think about it. There's no nuance. There's no sense that like, maybe we're the bad guys, right? Maybe the people who are actually causing the problems and invading places are the bad guys, right? And meanwhile, and so anytime anybody comes in here and starts talking shit about China and how they're doing, I'm always like, you get that they're going to war, right? Like, you get that, like, they know the Americans are coming for them. Like, you know that, right? Like, you know that the Americans are coming for their blood. That the goal of the United States is to drop bombs on Chinese cities and to actually do, like, a full-scale war in order to balkanize China and dismantle it. Like, you know that that's happening, right? And 9 times out of 10, I shouldn't even say 9 times out of 10, 999 times out of 1,000, they're just like, what? What are you doing? What? Like they have no fucking idea what's going on at all. And yet they think they can come in here and talk shit about a country they don't know anything about, a people they don't know the first thing about, because they're stupid. Like, we're stupid. Like, I don't know what else to even say about it. We're just an unserious people who are cosplaying at being revolutionaries. Like, we've got these, like, militia groups down in the United States, and they've got, like, Captain America shields, and they do drills, and they're, like, the Patriot Front is what they call themselves. Yeah, this is a serious thing. We're a serious people, right? Here's a serious people. The Patriot Front. Like, these guys. These guys show up wearing masks, holding American flags, doing all this cosplaying, right? They're the most unserious fucking group of people you'll ever meet in your life. Just like a fascist boys club. Like, they don't give a fuck about any of this thing. Like, Jesus Christ, Forbes is talking about this conflict between the U.S. and China, claiming it would only cost 1/3 of the U.S. submarine fleet to sink the entire Chinese Navy. Yep. That's right. That's right, bud. Like, that's fucking right. which has always been the point, right? Like, if you read this document, Thinking Through the Unthinkable, or how many times do I need to bring this up, right? This was always their strategy. Like, this was always their strategy. This is always their strategy. Their strategy has always been, since they started this Asia Pacific pivot, was to kill Americans and trade blood for gold, right? Because the point is that they want to go in there and destroy the Navy and take over the South China Sea. That's the whole point, in order to push China back onto the mainland. They're not talking about actually bombing Chinese cities. They're not talking about that, although that's obviously the goal. These people are bloodthirsty maniacs. But what they are openly discussing and talking about is exactly what you just said. That their goal is to destroy the Chinese Navy. But here's the fucking thing, right? Like, here's the fucking thing. America is stupid. Like, deeply, deeply, deeply incompetent. That they really do think that what's going to happen is they're going to push in there, and the Chinese are going to fight exactly the fight that the Americans expect. This is exactly what happened throughout all of the wars in the Middle East. It's exactly what happened throughout Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. It's exactly what happened in Afghanistan. It's why America loses. Because they're stupid and unimaginative and uncreative. Their whole strategy is quote-unquote shock and awe. Right? Shock and awe is their entire strategy. Well, what do if you attempt shock and awe and your opponent is prepared, grounded, realistic, and has a plan? When you attempt your shock and awe, they don't bat an eyelash. They go, this is what we expected. Well, you're fucked, aren't you? And if you actually look at how the Chinese are responding right now, they're training their citizens. Like, I literally saw a video today of what their fitness regimes look like in their schools. It looks like fucking Marine training is what they're doing. And they're doing that to all their citizens. That schooling in China is military level training at this point. And of course, Westerners are saying things like, wow, it's so aggressive because they're so fat and lazy and stupid. And it's simple numbers. There's 1.6 billion of them. 300 million of us, and we can't be arsed to get off the couch cosplaying away at being fucking warriors. Well, the Chinese are actually training people and preparing people. Like, it's insane what we're doing. Like, it's insane. Yeah, read the first page of Mein Kampf, but replace German and Germany with American. Yeah, I think that's pretty close. It's pretty close. Yeah, we're already in World War III. Like, come on, this is World War III. Well, the true goalpost is Oxus, right? Oxus. Is that right? Did I spell this right? AUKUS Alliance. This is it. Right? That when do they, under the pact, acquire nuclear-powered submarines? France, 3 countries. No, blah, blah, blah. There is a date on this where they're building nuclear submarines. There it is. They're building nuclear-powered submarines in the South China Sea. Under the pact, the U.S. will share nuclear propulsion technology with Australia. Blah, blah, blah. The basic design, yup. Australia will extend the life, yup. Considering purchasing, currently 6. Officials, nuclear power. There is, like, literally a date when they expect to actually finish building these nukes, these nuclear submarines, right? They actually expect to have these done in, like, the mid 2030s. Oh, go away. Oh my god. Well, fucking. In any case, like, to me, this is what it is. That they want to get these things built, and then they're going to go to war with them. Like, that's the whole timing of this whole thing. And America knows it has to do it. Right? Yeah, how the fuck can the U.S. wage a war like that without the entire U.S. population tearing their own home apart? Yeah, because we're fat and lazy and stupid. Like, and more actually, like, if I wanted to actually be, like, nice, but I'm not in a nice mood. Like, I'm really not in a nice mood. But, like, if I want it to be, like, I was just thinking about this. Like, at what point do we start actually genuinely asking, is it possible that people are being hypnotized? Like really? Let's go down the conspiracy hole. Let's just have some fun, and let's get into the conspiracy hole. Right? How genuinely serious can we take the idea that the American populace is being literally, not figuratively, not metaphorically, literally hypnotized? That they are being bombarded with hypnotic suggestion and hypnotic messaging that is convincing them to become passive and to treat trigger words like communism, right? Like, to trigger them into a heightened state of emotion so they can't think clearly and rationally. Like, at what point do we actually genuinely start talking about the CIA using technology in order to hypnotize the populace so that when it begins doing things that are obviously against the interests of the populace, the public will just sleepwalk through it? At what point do we seriously start considering that that is a genuine possibility that is actually happening? And what do we do about that? What do we actually do about that shit? Like, how do we literally deprogram people from being hypnotized by CIA technology? Because at this point, it's like the only thing I can think of. It can't be that we're this stupid, can it? Like, it can't be that we're this stupid. It's got to be something else, right? Like, the Vietnam War was met with a pretty significant anti-war movement. Well, what's changed since the Vietnam War? These fucking phones. These fucking apps. The tech bro companies. That's what's changed. What, you're telling me the CIA isn't going to invest? Like, the CIA is literally, like, doing MK Ultra and shit. The CIA is literally jamming crazy nonsense into people's brains without their knowledge. Doing psychedelic testing. Testing about things like the collective consciousness and how to hijack it. You're seriously not even going to bother considering that they're going to use a device to literally hypnotize kids while they're playing their fucking Call of Duty or their Pokemon Go or whatever the fuck it is they're doing? Like, you seriously don't think that that's a possibility? The Iraq War was met with a non-negligible opposition. Yeah, exactly. Right? So not that long ago. Right? Not that long ago. So what changed? Like, what changed? Why is it that we can do whatever we like now? Why is it that there's no anti-war movement? What happened? What changed? Look at the victims of communism school curriculum. It's exactly what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, dude. The victims of communist school curriculum literally takes Nazis and calls them victims of communism. Like, that's straight up what they do. It's brutal. Culture is a form of mass hypnosis. I mean, we have seen in the past the idea of, like, a mass hysteria and a mass the Salem witch trials. I've talked about this before. The Salem witch trials are a version of this, where a mass hysteria swept through the public, and people started acting out of this mass hysteria. And the people who committed the Salem witch trials, the people who actually hung those women, the people who actually murdered those women, wrote afterwards that they got caught up in a frenzy and they were caught up in a hysteria. Good to see you, Marie. Good to see you, Anemone. I did those declassified gateway meditations for a bit, and then I was like, nah, this could be bad. Like, I'm actually pro-meditation, like, I'm pro-doing that, but, like, the CIA is obviously doing it in an effort to hijack people, to brainwash people. Like, that's what it's always been about for these guys. Like, these people are creepy. It's a creepy thing to do. to try to hypnotize and brainwash people. That's what they're doing, and that's what they've always done. It's what they were doing with psychedelics. They weren't using it as like, well, we need to open people's minds up and free their experience and have them see the truth behind the pull back the veil and see that there's more to human consciousness and all this kind of stuff. They literally were trying to control people's minds. That's what the CIA wants to do. And you're telling me they're not trying to do it through these screens? It's worse. The VOC curriculum says shit about how the Soviet Union did a religious genocide. Yeah. Like, is this something they're teaching you in school, dude? Is this something that you were taught in school, bud? Do you have any of that? Is that something that you can show people? Like, do you have documents? Because that's fucked up. Like, that's straight up, like, fucked up. Ligon to Z, what are you saying? Sorry, was I talking about demonetizable things? What are you talking about, dude? Did I skip things? We're not on TikTok right now. Yes, you need to be a Canadian citizen. You need to go through a training program. Like, there are pretty strict laws here in Canada. You can't just walk into a Walmart. Like, straight up. And I don't know how comfortable I am on that subject, bud, honestly. Like, you do what you feel like you need to do. Like, you do what you feel like you need to do. But I've got no judgment one way or the other. Yeah, conservatives in the ruling class are full of creepy fucks. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, like, literally the last president went to Jeffrey Epstein's sex pedophile island, and then, like, not the president before him or the president before him, but the president before him, Clinton, is like a regular vacationer. Like, he goes regularly. So I saw a clip of someone straight up asking Bill Clinton. It was at some event or something, and it's on camera, and someone straight up asked Bill Clinton, "Hey, what's up with your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? Are you concerned about it? What do you think?" And Bill Clinton gave him this, like, sly little smile, this, like, impish little grin, and then said something along the lines of, "I think the evidence is clear," and then walked away. Because Bill Clinton knows that nothing's going to happen to him. He knows that nothing's going to happen to him. He literally could have looked that guy dead in the eye right there and been like, "Yeah, I raped a bunch of girls. Have a nice evening." It wouldn't have mattered. Nothing's going to change. No one's going to go after him, right? And they know it. They know it. They're basically rubbing their dicks in your face about it now. Yeah. And we all still go to work. That's the best part. Like, that's the best part. Like, I can believe that it's happening, right? Like, it's not the first time in human history where a ruling class has become detached and psychotic, right? I think that that's pretty normal when humans get access to enormous amounts of power and material possessions, where they begin treating people like possessions and things like this, right? I think that that's fairly normal. What's surprising is that we're not, like, surrounding their houses. Seems to me like something we should be doing. If war with China is coming, war with China is coming, dude. Like the Americans are telling you, the Americans are saying it out loud, right? Like they're setting the stage for war with China. They're not fucking around with it. And, like, it does mean that, like, this channel is going to get censored really hard. Like, that's what that really means for me, is that I'm not going to be able to talk about that. So I need to start talking about the upcoming war with China now, so that there's all this information out there now, so that people can look at it and say, "Oh, this guy was talking about this the entire time." Now, because when it happens, they're going to purge people. Like, if I could pick a moment when this channel gets purged, that's the moment for sure. When America finally kicks it up, right? Or more specifically, when China finally reacts to America in a way that can be reported as if it is China's invasion, right? Which will likely be the invasion of Taiwan, right? That America will put like missiles and bombs on Taiwan, literally send huge nuclear submarines into the South China Sea, start arming the Taiwanese, put a literal military base on Taiwan. For fuck's sake, maybe they'll literally start killing Taiwanese citizens. Maybe the Americans will go into Taiwan and start just killing and shelling Taiwanese right in front of China, right? Why not? That's what they did in Ukraine, right? Like, they'll just start sending Marines and start sending people into Taiwan and just start massacring Taiwanese. And the Chinese will basically be like, we're not going to allow that. And they'll go in, and then America will be like, it's an invasion! Like, this is where we're at. These people are Nazis. Like, they're going to do anything they want. And we're all just going to be like, the Chinese invaded Taiwan! Like we did with Russia. And then all of the Facebook memes and all of the Facebook signs will become, will just become Taiwanese flags, right? Everybody will put up a Taiwanese flag and be like, stand with Taiwan, free Taiwan, right? Meanwhile, the actual story is that America is literally massacring Taiwanese citizens in order to provoke the Chinese into an invasion, just like they did with Ukraine. Like, we're very stupid and thick. Like, we're a very thick people. And so we'll absolutely fall for the exact same grift over and over and over again. Like, we're too dumb. Like, we're really, really dumb. And so we're 100% going to make that happen. If war with China is coming, things will be 100 times more unsafe for me. People here are not just going to leave me alone. That's why I ask such uncomfortable questions. Yeah. No, dude, and you should ramp it up. You should ramp it up. We literally have a top U.S. Marine Corps general in Japan saying the U.S. military is setting the theater in the Asia Pacific for a future war with China. Similar to how it set the theater in Ukraine after 2014. So he's admitting to it. Like, he's just letting the cat out of the bag, right? Like, I gotta read this whole article. I'm gonna go pee again, and then I'm gonna read this whole article. Doom to Bloom, absolutely great to see you. Have you met any really interesting people who went to the protests? Yeah, that's how I met Socialist Action, right? There were all these guys with flags, and they kept showing up, and they kept doing stuff, right? That's how I met them. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. Like, the thing that kills me about this is that they're just openly talking about it. Like, they're just openly talking about it. Nobody even just fucking reads. Right? Nobody even fucking reads. U.S. military deepens ties with Japan and Philippines to prepare for China threat. Top Marine Corps General James Bierman outlines sweeping reforms to adapt force for possible conflict over Taiwan. The U.S. and Japanese armed forces are rapidly integrating their command structure and scaling up combined operations as Washington and its Asian allies prepare for a possible conflict with China, such as a war over Taiwan, according to the top Marine Corps general in Japan. The two militaries have seen exponential increases just over the last year in their operations on the territory they would have to defend in case of a war. Lieutenant General James Bierman, commanding general of the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force and of the Marine Forces Japan, told the Financial Times in an interview. Milo, dude, I don't know what you want. Oh, there it is. Bierman said the U.S. and its allies in Asia were emulating the groundwork that enabled Western countries to support Ukraine's resistance to Russia in preparing for scenarios such as a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Why have we achieved the level of success we've achieved in Ukraine? What fucking level of success are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Russia has achieved all of its stated war goals. It owns the territory of the Donbass region. It owns Crimea. What the fuck are you talking about? We have achieved the level of success we've achieved in Ukraine. A big part of that has been because after Russian aggression in 2014 and 15, we earnestly got after preparing for future conflict. Like, these guys are dumb. Like, they're dumb. Like, Russia has the territory that it claimed to have, that it wanted to have, that it went in to get. It has it. Like, and it's not going to give it up. It's not going to suddenly not have it. There's no tactical scenario in which the Americans push in and take that territory back from Russia. It's not going to happen. Why have we achieved the level of success we've achieved in Ukraine? You mean the not success at all? The zero success? The complete and total failure? The abject failure? The overt loss of Ukrainian land? The suckering of Ukraine into a conflict where it's blown itself apart for nothing? For literally nothing? While Russia was scrambling to try to do diplomacy, to have them sign any accords whatsoever? Right? The reason why Ukraine is losing that territory is because they listened to NATO and the U.S. as the U.S. and NATO suckered them into this war. You've got thousands of Ukrainians dead for fuck all, essentially. Right? Because they let the Nazis take over. So why have we achieved the level of success we've achieved in Ukraine? A big part of that has been because after Russian aggression in 2014 and 15, we earnestly got after preparing for future conflict, training for the Ukrainians, pre-positioning of supplies, identification of sites from which we could operate support, sustain operations, he said, and you still fucking lost. Like, you lost. Like, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're not winning. Like, what, you think just because Ukraine didn't get completely swept away, which was never the stated goal, right? Which was never the stated goal. Well, you like, it's only exactly as Jeremy's saying. They won't give up, but they won't keep it if attrition continues. Give it months, not years. In the meantime, someone makes the money, right? Yeah, the arms dealers. That's why we're supposed to be jerking Tony Stark off, right? Oh, Tony, you're such a fucking genius. Yeah, oh, genius Tony. We call that setting the theater. And we are setting the theater in Japan, in the Philippines, in other locations. Bierman's unusually frank comparison between the Ukraine war and a potential conflict with China comes as Beijing has dramatically increased the scale and sophistication of its military maneuvers near Taiwan in recent years. Gee, I wonder why they're doing that. Gee, I wonder why they're doing that. Could it be the constant provocations? The constant fucking threats? Right? Bierman, what am I saying? Japan and the Philippines are also intensifying defense cooperation with the U.S. in the face of mounting Chinese assertiveness. Japan and the U.S. are set to discuss strengthening their alliance at security talks between the foreign and defense ministers on Wednesday and a summit between the U.S. President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Friday in Washington. The summit comes as Tokyo embarks on a radical security policy shift that will include increasing defense spending and deploying missiles capable of hitting Chinese territory. Yeah, because there isn't a long history, right? There isn't a long history of Japanese imperialism, right? There isn't a long relationship between Japan and China of Japan going in and massacring Chinese people. That certainly never happened and doesn't exist. Yeah, the relationship between China and Japan definitely has Japan looking like the good guys, right? Japan's always been the good guys in its relationship with China, right? Certainly hasn't been like literally allied to Adolf Hitler in World War II. Certainly wasn't literally fighting on the side of the Nazis as in living memory, right? Definitely didn't happen. The summit comes as Tokyo embarks on I already read that. MEF is the Security Corps' only crisis response force permanently stationed outside the U.S. It operates within the range of Chinese medium and long-range missiles, with which Beijing seeks to constrain U.S. operational freedom in the region. Yeah, I can't imagine why. But I can't imagine why China would want to seek to constrain U.S. operational freedom in the region. Right? Could be that wherever the United States goes, it just overthrows governments, destroys people, literally sends CIA death squads through the street to massacre children. Right? Maybe the Chinese are looking at that and being like, yeah, we should probably protect our citizens from that. This overt, obvious, Nazi-level fascist threat that 100% exists in the world. The unit is at the heart of a sweeping reform of the Marine Corps that aims to replace its focus on fighting counterinsurgency in the Middle East with creating small units that specialize in operating quickly and clandestinely in the islands and straits of East Asia and the Western Pacific to counter Beijing's anti-access area denial strategy. To realize that strategy, closer integration with allies was vital, Bierman said. In a series of recent exercises, the Marines for the first time set up bilateral ground tactical coordination centers, rather than exchanging liaisons with allies' command points. In another sign of deepening cooperation, specific Japanese military units have been designated as part of the stand-in force, alongside 3 MEF and U.S. Navy and U.S. Air Force units. Instead of a round-robin of Japanese military units working with U.S. counterparts, as in the past, a standing community of interest is emerging of allied units with responsibility for operational plans, Bierman added. Yeah, Japan is becoming a province of the United States military. That's what it is. They're being vassalized. He said that while the U.S. military was paying attention to Chinese aggressive behavior around Taiwan, yeah, because China's the one that's aggressive, right? That's right. Oh yeah, China's the aggressive one. Certainly isn't the United States literally sending weapons to Taiwan. Certainly isn't the United States sending delegations to Taiwan. Certainly isn't the United States accusing China of literal genocides. Certainly isn't the United States literally publishing documents talking about how to go to war with China, right? Those aren't aggressive behaviors, right? No. What's aggressive is defending yourself, right? That if you actually train yourself and actually work to defend yourself against an aggressive, psychotic Nazi-level threat, then you're the aggressive one. He said that while the U.S. military was paying attention to Chinese aggressive behavior around Taiwan, the People's Liberation Army should not be perceived as being 10 feet tall. When you talk about the complexity, the size of some of the operations they would have to conduct, let's say in an invasion of Taiwan, there will be indications and warnings, and there are specific aspects to that in terms of geography and time, which allow us to posture and be the most prepared, he said. As part of those preparations, the Philippines plan to allow the U.S. forces to pre-position weapons, right, and other supplies on 5 more bases, in addition to 5 where the U.S. already has access. So, like, how is this different than saying, well, people are going to nuke anyway, so we might as well nuke them first? These people are psychopaths. You gain a leverage point, a base of operations, which allows you to have a tremendous head start in different operational plans, Bierman said, as we square off with the Chinese adversary, who is going to own the starting pistol and is going to have the ability to potentially initiate hostilities. We can identify decisive key terrain that must be held, secured, defended, and leveraged. These people are psychopaths. They are literally saying, we are going to set the stage and set the theater for war with China, but they are the aggressors. Like, literally, they are saying, we're going to walk into their house and put a bomb in the middle of their bedroom, and if they try to fight us, we have the right to defend ourselves, and they are the aggressors. These people are delusional, detached, serial level killer psychopaths at the very head of the United States military. Like, we've lost our fucking minds. We've lost the ability to have reason. We are crazed, bloodthirsty maniacs being led around by the god of war himself in order to maximize damage around the globe and collapse our own society while doing it. And they're telling you out loud in the Financial Times that they're doing it. Like, we're a psychopath culture. We deserve everything that's coming our way. There is not anything that is coming our way that is not completely deserved. The collapse of the dollar, the abandonment of the rest of this by the rest of the world, the exclusion, the isolation, the separation, the collapse into poverty, the collapse into climate change horrors. We earned and owned all of it. That is how we roll here in North America. We deserve every little bit of it for allowing psychos like this James Bierman to have any power in our civilization at all. A man like this should simply be in jail for even talking this way. But nah, totally fine. We're just going to massacre millions of people. And oh, by the way, they're the bad guys. Like, this is gaslighting to a level that to like a galactic level. This is literally going to another planet, carpet bombing the aliens on the planet, and then if the aliens shoot back saying they're aggressing us, we have to protect Earth. Like, that's literally what we're doing. Like, literally what we're doing. Unbelievable, man. Like, unbelievable. And we all just go to work and pay taxes, right? While they actually actively are working to just jack up our taxes and jack up prices and jack up everything and destroy us. And we all just keep going to war. This is a civilization worth working for. You just need to grind set. You just need to work harder, you know. You just need to earn your place and justify your existence to psychopathic child rapists and serial killing murderers. That's what you have to do. Grind set. Work harder. Just get a job. Just get a job. Like, yeah, literally stop hitting yourself. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, like a disease. Just like straight up. I love how Americans just tell us straightforwardly that their goal is world domination and constantly mess with the world to ensure it, and then act like they're the good guys. That's the best part. That we're all supposed to be like, USA! 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 Like, America is going to get isolated. I think that that's something that Americans and Westerners generally just refuse to accept. That the reality of what is going to actually happen once you step back and stop thinking like a baby-brained psychopath like this James Bierman and actually start thinking like a human being with thoughts and emotion and rationality, and you actually go like, oh yeah, if all you're going to do is go to literally every country, and bomb it, shell it, destroy it, attempt to dominate it militarily, it is only a matter of time until you are going to be isolated. Until the rest of the world is just going to go, okay, champ, you go into that room and you stay there, and we're going to talk amongst ourselves about how to do this. And you can see it. You can see the rest of the world actually coming together and actually trying to find a way to have peaceful negotiations with one another. You can see the rest of the world looking at the looming insane... What is the consequence of America being isolated? Okay, so let's get into it, Jeremy. The dollar will collapse. You will not be able to buy basic goods with the dollar. It will cost $10,000 to get a loaf of bread. You simply will not be able to get anything. Walmart will shut its doors. Amazon will leave. The dollar will have zero value. All of the goods that you get from China will be gone. No one will make goods for America because their dollar will be worthless. The rest of the world will look at America and go, what is it you do? What is it you're making? What is it you're creating? What is it of value that you're actually participating in? Like, you're giving me these dollars. What can I buy with those dollars? And the answer is fuck all. You can buy fuck all with dollars. All you can buy with dollars is war and death and child rape. That's what you buy with American dollars. And the rest of the world is going to go, nah, I'm going to trade in wands. I'm going to trade in rubles. I'm going to trade in some other currency, the renminbi. I'm going to do some other thing. I'm not going to interact with this insane, crazed, lunatic system that is obviously extracting wealth from its own citizenry and plunging it into 100 years of humiliation, which is exactly what's coming for America. Exactly what's coming for America. The free ride that America has, the gravy train that America has been operating under for the last 100 years is ending. Americans are not prepared for the absolute fucking that is coming for them. The absolute ram-rotting fucking that is coming for them. They're going to walk into their local Walmart and it will be empty. If America is corner, is there no fear that the largest violence exporter in the world will do what it does best? That's exactly what people are afraid of. That's what the Chinese are afraid of. That's exactly what the Russians are afraid of. Why do you think that all of these countries, like, why do you think BRICS exists? Right? In India, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, for Christ's sake, like, all of these, Brazil, all of these countries are getting together and creating a BRICS organization. Why do you think they're doing that? Because they know what America is and they know how it's going to act, and they know that they can no longer negotiate with it. And they can no longer pretend as though, oh, we can be integrated into this global system. Like, we can negotiate with this global system. That the global system that the Americans set up is something that we can get involved in and we can all negotiate with one another. They know that they can't. And so they're creating secondary systems. Why? To exclude the Nazis. It's as simple as this. It's as simple as this. Like, if you were on a playground and somebody was walking around beating the shit out of everybody, how long would it be before everybody just got together and just cornered the thing and said, no, you no longer get to beat us up? And maybe he'll come out swinging and start trying to do what he can, but you can only do that for so long. You can only do that for so long. And the truth is that the rest of the world can build faster than America can bomb. That's the hard truth of it. That unless America decides to fucking just go crazy and go nuclear, right? But if it does that, then America's gone too. Like, and the idea, this is the craziest part about this, if you ask me, is the idea that America is going to successfully launch a war against China and it's not going to be struck back. Like, that's the arrogance of the American ideology and the American thought. That they genuinely think that they're going to be able to march into Southeast Asia, dick wagging, swinging between their legs, and that China is just going to bow and take whatever they're given, and they're not going to strike back. I think you're fucking out to lunch. Like, for fuck's sake. Like, for fuck's sake. Like, the American racist baby brain doesn't include the idea that, hey, China could hit San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, right? China can hit Portland. China can hit Seattle. Well, you think they can't? China can hit Vancouver. Well, you think they can't? Why? You think we can go over there and hit them, but they can't hit us? Why? What makes you think that? What makes you so fucking confident? Right? And if we kick that war up, like, we don't know what China's capable of. We're dumb. We're very dumb. Like, we don't know what we're doing. Like, you're telling me that China can't just get, like, some kind of stealth submarine? Like, I've seen stories about how American fleets have run into shit in the South China Sea that they didn't detect. Like, how do we know the Chinese don't have a submarine that can evade American detection? Like, we're extremely arrogant, we're extremely stupid, and pathetic. Like, we're pathetic for embarking on this. And instead of taking all of that money and investing it into our country, into our civilization, into building unifying projects, into strengthening our society, because that's the most embarrassing part. That we're trying to go over here and fight against 1.4 billion people who are going to mobilize if we start striking at them, who are going to mobilize with a volunteer force of fucking burger eaters. Like, that's what's happening. Yeah, we're going to be real successful at this. We're going to definitely have a successful conflict. It's definitely going to happen. Right? Oh, but we've got all these fun little toys. Yeah, we got all these fun little toys. Sure, enlistment's down. Like, sure, nobody's actually, like, enlisting because they know that we're a psychotic force of fucking neo-Nazis. But, we can definitely confront 1.4 billion people in the second most technological society in the world without any repercussions whatsoever. Normal. That's a normal thing to think. Yeah, they can't even win in Afghanistan, and now they want to take on the country with the second biggest military budget in the world, right? Who sees all of this coming? Like, that's the other thing, right? They see all of this shit coming. Like, they see Ukraine, they see Libya, they see Syria. They are not fooling themselves. They are not looking at America and going like, this is a potential ally. This is something that is absolutely like when America went and did what they did in Ukraine, right? When they did what they did in Syria and Libya, that's when the Russians started to prepare. China's been preparing since World War II. It has always known that America will come for it. It has always known that this is the case. That the brief, like, Nixonite period where Nixon went to China, right? They always knew that was the aberration because of how it was received in America. Like, China is not full of dumbasses. It's not full of thick idiots like America is, right? It's not full of these John Bolton wannabe types. It's full of people who are actually trying to fight for the security and the safety of a nation and a civilization that they're actually interested in building. Imagine thinking America can cut off trade with the consumer population of U.S. will just go bananas, yeah? There's not a single American that's going to make a shoe on an assembly line for $15 an hour, yeah? Shoes will be hundreds of dollars. That is to say, if we even have the resources to produce them to begin with, yeah. A war with China will be economically devastating for America. Like, the devastation cannot be overstated. They make all our stuff. We purposefully deindustrialized our nation in order to have China make all our stuff. And if we go to war with them, what do you think they're just going to keep making all our stuff? Like, this is the delusion baby brain of our ruling class. Like, America will be a full-blown riot while the military is marooned in Asia. That's a way of thinking about it, right? They're going to send their military forces over here and have a war, and the United States is just going to fall. But why do you think they're arming the police forces so thoroughly? Like, why do you, like, if the American police force, if the police forces of America were ranked on the military scale, they'd be the third largest military on the planet. So not only are we funding a foreign military to go overseas and cause all of this problems everywhere they go, we're also funding a domestic military. Third largest military on the planet. Like, America is literally Cato the Elder. Instead of delenda est Carthago, it's delenda est Sino. Yeah. Like, and it's for nothing. Like, there's the best part. Like, it's literally so that white men can say, we're the best. That's what it's for. Like, and there's no reason to pretend like it's anything else. Right? It's not for our safety. It's not for our security. It's not for anything other than, we're the best. Us, we, USA, we're the best. Manifest destiny, we're the rulers of Earth. We control everything. We're the best. That's what it is. Like, there's no resource reason to do it. There's no economic reason to do it. There's no nation building or civilization building reason to do it. Right? There isn't even a good financial reason to do it, because after the dollar collapses, all these trillions of dollars these guys have accumulated in their offshore accounts will be worthless. Like, that's the best part. That after all of this, all of these billionaires and all of this fucking shit that they've done, and all of the wealth that they've extracted from the society and offshored into their offshore accounts and all that kind of stuff, all of that money's going to be worthless. Because no one's going to buy it. No one's going to want it. No one's going to use it. Except us, but we don't make anything. We don't make anything. We don't make anything. What do we make? Bullets? Bombs? Basically all we do. Like, this is going to be a catastrophe for us. This is going to be a catastrophe for us. On a scale that I don't think has ever been seen on the planet. That you got to look at, like, what happened in World War II and Nazi Germany, and even that's happening on this scale, right? This is the scale of that conflict, right? What's happening now is actually literally a world war. Like, it's actually literally a world war. And America is going to get fucked. And how do I know? Because America's never won a war. It's never won a war. What war did it win? Like, you could make the argument that they won the War of Independence if you like, but the French won that war. Like, you could really, but ever since then, like, what have they won? They didn't win World War II, that was the Soviets. Like, they fucking, what, the Civil War, I guess, if you want to call that a win. They lost to Vietnam, right? They lost to Afghanistan. They're losing to Iraq. They lost in Syria. They're losing wherever they go. Like, they don't own any. They've lost all their vassals in Latin America, right? Anytime they attempt to do anything in Latin America, they get thwarted because they're losers and everybody knows it. Like, yeah, this actually explains perfectly why they've stacked the Supreme Court with fascists, because they're going to roll a shit ton of stuff back to justify criminalizing existing at all. Yeah, so the police have a reason to act. Yeah, I think that's right. Abortion, homosexuality, miscegenation, transness, unionizing, all of this will be a crime wave. Yeah, and they're also going to do all of that in the hopes that the populace will be distracted by that, instead of actually coming together and being like, stop these godless wars. Stop these godless wars. Like, there's no reason to pursue these wars. Like, literally, there's no reason for it. Outside of we're white and therefore we own everything. And if they can get everybody, like, fighting along these identity politics lines, right? And not actually saying like, hey, stop with the war. It's a win, right? It's a win. That if you can't be right, be chaotic. If you can't own it, destroy it. Yep, the House is already proposing federal limitations against abortion. They're building a new definition of crime. Yeah. And the solution is going to be balkanization, right? The solution is going to be straight up like California, like these places just won't be part of the United States anymore. They literally won't abide by the laws and strictures of the United States government anymore. Because they're just going to be like, why would we? Why should we? We're not getting anything out of it. You're literally criminalizing existence. Like the federal system of the United States and the military are going to become so psychotic, overwhelmingly psychotic, that even the individual states will begin to see that it needs to be isolated. Right? Like that's fundamentally what balkanization means. As the entire rest of the world seeks to isolate the United States government, right? So too will her people. And they will do it by balkanization. That's going to be the primary tool. Because the United, like, they're incapable of rational thought. They're not actually capable of rational thought anymore. They're a foaming at the mouth, unrepentant, psychopathic serial killer. That's what they are. Like, literally, like, from the guy from The Shining. What, Jack? Jack from The Shining in the last half hour of the film, where he's just, like, marching around the hotel, crazed like a lunatic, kicking in doors. Here's Johnny! Right? Chasing his son around a maze. That's who these people are. They're not capable of rational response. And we all go to work for them. Go figure. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Holy shit, man. I'm pissed off today. Like, I'm pissed off today, man. Like, and I think the thing that's really pissed me off is, like, I had a really nice day with my friends today. Like, I had a really nice day with my friends today. We played board games. We played a board game we haven't played in a while. Right? I got to cuddle with my puppy. I got some time off. Right? And we all work hard. We're all good, honest people, right? Who are trying our best. And why are we doing it? For this bullshit. That's why we're doing all this. Like, that's why we're suffering. That's why we're tolerating our capitalist owners who are clueless losers. That's why we're putting up with all this, so that literally psychopaths can go destroy nations they know nothing about for no reason. Like, my friends deserve better than this. My family deserves better than this. Everyone's friends and family deserve better than this. We don't deserve to have our labor turn into an endless war for no reason whatsoever. Like, it's pathetic to say anything else. It's overwhelmingly pathetic. The game that we were playing that I really love, and it's kind of funny, is a game called Archipelago. Archipelago is a game where they basically took all of the expansions of Catan, Settlers of Catan, and amalgamated them into a cleaner version, and then created a set of systems outside of that to make a really cohesive and streamlined board game that I really love. But the great irony is that the theme of the board game is literally colonization. You're literally European colonizers going into an archipelago and colonizing it. But gee howdy, is the game actually good. That there's a system. One of the things I love about this board game is that there's a system of rebellion. So as you go in to the archipelago, you discover the indigenous population, right? You discover the indigenous population, and you can put them to work for your in industry, right? Put them to work, right? But you have to placate their needs, and if you don't, they can rebel against you. And if they rebel against you, everybody loses. So, and even better than that, everybody gets their own special like mission card, like the objective that they're attempting to pursue. And one of the objectives that you're trying to pursue is that you ally with the rebellion, and you're trying to make the rebellion happen. I think that's fucking hilarious. The only way that I really justify to myself the idea of playing a game that is fundamentally about colonization is that it's extremely informative. It's extremely educational. Because it's pretty honest about what it means to be a colonizer. It's pretty honest about how that actually works. It doesn't really pull punches. Risk is... I actually think that Risk is an extremely shitty game. Because Risk is essentially imperialist propaganda. That all wars are wars of big armies sweeping across the world, right? Like, there's no like slavery in Risk. There's no exploitation. Like everything is just literally like big armies smashing into one another, and everybody's motivation is exactly the same, which is world domination. The goal of the game is to dominate the world. There's like literally no such thing as like, you know, build up your society and be peaceful, right? Risk is brain dead, dude. Risk is brain dead. Like here's Risk, right? Take your troops, put them in a territory here, right? And everybody does the same. They put it in a territory here, and it's like completely randomly generated. And there's like a selection system where you can build up forces and all that kind of stuff, and blah, 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 blah. And then when it's your turn, try to take territory. And that's the whole fucking game. You just like roll into one another, and you roll 6-sided dice. That's all that decides everything. So you're just like rolling around the map, conquering. It just lets everybody be like a little mini conqueror. It lets you shut your brain off and become Adolf Hitler. Basically. That's and I've gone back and I've like played Risk as an adult, and the game is like brain dead. Like it's you might as well just roll dice and flick your friend. Right? Isn't it great that all American games are about war and domination and teaching people to hate one another? Right? You ever actually play a game of Monopoly? Do you like your friends after? No. Right? No, not at all. Like, where are the games that are about cooperation? Where are the games where you're trying to achieve an objective? Those have manifested more in the modern era, as people have looked back on these games of yore and thought to themselves, oh shit, these things are fucking horrible. Like, these are terrible games. Monopoly is a terrible game because it was never intended to be a game. It was always a critique of capital. Risk is a shitty game. Like, American games are shitty because they're all just about letting you live this fantasy of being a demon, basically. But if you actually want to like learn something or engage in something that's actually interesting, well, then you got to come into the more modern era. Basically, everything post Catan started to get that way. What's called the Euro games start to get that way. Where a really great example of this would be a game series called Pandemic, right? Where the whole point of Pandemic is that you play as like a group of doctors attempting to go throughout the world solving pandemics. And this game was made before COVID, right? Trying to solve pandemics and trying to solve pandemic level crises as they crop up around the world, right? So it's a game that's about cooperating and communicating and trying to solve a problem, and you're fighting against the board game itself. That whole idea that instead of your enemy being the other people sitting at the table, the enemy is the circumstances you find yourself in, that you need to work together to actually achieve a goal. And I think that that's something really beautiful, that's something that modern board gaming has actually managed to achieve in a lot of different ways, and in a lot of different titles. But it'll swing the other way, and we'll just go back to like Star Wars Galactic Conquer. Ever hear of the Soviet cartoon called Leopold the Cat? Leopold the Cat, Soviet cartoon. Alright, looks cool as shit. I don't know. He looks pretty normal. Looks like a pretty normal fucking. I have a video. Cat Leopold. I won't put the audio on. Russian, American propaganda surrounding Russian animation. Like it's pretty brutal, right? You can see it even on like fucking Family Guy. This is pretty smooth animation. When did this get made? Here. Leopold the Cat is a Soviet-Russian animated short film series about a good-natured and prudent cat. Leopold always wears a bow tie even when swimming. Throughout the series, he has to deal with two mischievous mice, Gray and White, Mitya and Moitya, according to an early script version, but the cartoons themselves mention no names. The animation was produced, blah, 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 runtime, yep. Leopold's catchphrase is, guys, let's all get along. The catchphrases of the two mice are, come out, Leopold, by one, and come out, you foul coward, by the second. I wonder how popular this was. Like, how popular was this? Like, is this something that like everybody in Russia? Is this like here in Ontario? There's the Pokeroo. Is this like this, the Pokeroo? Right, like when I moved to Ontario, everybody here in Ontario was gaga. Well, I shouldn't say gaga, that's too much. But like everybody in Ontario knew about this fucking monstrosity called the Pokeroo. Right? And the Pokeroo, I'm from Manitoba, so I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And it's from a children's show, like a real low budget children's show that aired on Ontario television. It was essentially about this. It was essentially like a storytelling show where there were usually two people, and one of them at some point would go off stage for like, I'm gonna go get some lemonade, right? And they would turn around, and of course they would go put on the fucking polka dot this thing, right? And then come back and be like, oh, it's the Pokeroo, everybody. And the kids would be like, oh, it's Pokeroo. And the Pokeroo would do some dumb shit, right? And then my favorite part of the show is that the Pokeroo would leave, right? And then the person would come back, right? The person who had left to go get the lemonade, and they'd come back with the lemonade. And then they'd say to him, oh, you just missed the Pokeroo. And he'd go, oh, missed him again. And I just love the idea of kids watching this being like, that fucking idiot. That fucking idiot. He keeps leaving and missing the Pokeroo. Oh, I bet the Pokeroo hates that guy. I bet he only shows up when that guy's not around because he doesn't want to see him. I bet that guy owes the Pokeroo some money. I love that this little kid steadily became like a 1930s like gangster. That guy needs to pay his debts to the Pokeroo. And it's just like, and like, I love the idea of a kid being like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold the phone. That guy is the Pokeroo. And all the other kids being like, no. Oh no, that's stupid. That's stupid. He's not the Pokeroo. The Pokeroo's the Pokeroo. That guy went and got some lemonade. Yeah, he went and got some lemonade so that he could put on the Pokeroo costume. No. Oh my god. Like, what a... I remember when TV shows used to include ideas like people should share. You remember that? When you were growing up and they would just be like, you'd like watch a show like the Care Bears, right? And they would do like the Care Bear stare, and at the end of every show there was like a little moment where they would be like, remember kids, be nice to each other and share, right? Remember that? Now everything is kind of like a moral relativistic like hellscape drama. Like, as much as I love Adventure Time, this is exactly how it was. Like, and things like Gravity Falls, like there are really good animated shows, but I worry that like kids are watching them and what they're getting from them is essentially do what you like and treat people how you want. Because morality doesn't really exist and the world's really fucked up. Like that's sort of what I'm concerned people are getting these days. That there's this like really beautiful art that happens right in front of them. But instead of it all ending with like a bear going, and that's why it's important that we share, the message is use violence to solve your problems at every opportunity. Share sounds like commie propaganda. Yeah, I know, right? Like, oh my god, sharing. Holy shit. Maybe we should all exist together peacefully. Like, eventually, Leon, everything is going to be commie propaganda to these people, right? That's straight up what it's going to be. Like, we're straight up going to say, like, I mean, we're already there. Like, I say all the time, like, why don't people just have houses? Why is food and not shelter and shelter not built into the system? Oh, you're a commie. Like, at what point, like, if a person works a full-time job, they should be able to own a home. That sounds like commie propaganda. If a person is contributing to society in a meaningful way, they should have their voice listened to by their elector. Oh, what are you, a communist? Like, I think that we should have clean drinking water. Oh, that's just some commie shit right there. I think that our food should not be poisonous. What are you, a communist? Like, it is getting to the point where, like, extremely basic things that should just be a given are being called communism. And, like, for fuck's sake, they're calling Joe Biden a communist. Yeah, that commie Joe Biden. Like, I always thought growing up that it was, like, a complete exaggeration. That these people who are, like, who talk that way in media and television, like the Archie Bunker types, were like an exaggeration. I think that they're really downplayed, actually. I think that those people that exist in the media sphere are really actually quite kind to those types of people. That my interactions with these people are like terrifying. that I look at these people and I'm like, oh, yeah, it makes total sense that Nazism would come out of this. Like, absolutely. It makes all the sense in the world. Like, ugh, Jesus fucking Christ. I've never seen someone shoplift necessities, especially from a big corporate store, and I never will. That's right. That's right. A lesson for us all. A lesson for us all. Like, it would be really cool if people were even trying to solve these problems. You know? That would be the coolest part. Is if they were even trying. Like, the attempts that they're doing are like these really pathetic, small-scale reformist shit that doesn't work, and we all know it doesn't work. Like, if the dam that was protecting your town from water rushing in and sweeping it away, if a crack started to form in the dam and it was obvious that water was going to come and wipe everything away, and the mayor of the city showed up and said, I know what we're going to do. We're going to put a sticky note on it. We did it, everyone. We put a sticky note on it. Like, it's the same thing that we're doing. It's not even a Band-Aid. I don't want to even degenerate Band-Aids. Right? Like, that, at least a Band-Aid would be like the idea of healthcare. The idea of trying to solve the problem. The idea of attempting to do something about it. They're not even going to use a Band-Aid. They're literally going to use like a Post-it note with like a smiley face drawn on it. And not even a good Post-it note, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those Post-it notes that's like a friction-based Post-it note, so it doesn't have like an adhesive stickiness on the back of it. It's one of these Post-it notes that you can get where you're supposed to like rub it on your arm first, and static electricity is what keeps it where it's supposed to stay. Right? I've got these things at work, and that's how they work. They're like static electricity based, and they stick on the wall because they're designed to do that kind of thing. So it's not even like an adhesive at all. Right? That's the type of sticky note that they're going to use. Right? And then they're going to, and then what are they going to do? They're going to raise tax on the populace by like 5%. Right? They're going to take all that money, but what are they going to do with it? Are they going to put it into a campaign to like fix the wall or something like that? No, they're going to just give it to their friend, and then they're going to leave and go to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island. Like, that's what they're doing. It's just like blisteringly obvious at this point. And we're all just still going to work. Better pull up my bootstraps. Off I go, regular Joe, doing good, honest work for some of the most psychotic people the world has ever seen. Like, I really do think you've got to go back to like public crucifixions to see more psychotic people than this. And I suspect that they're going to bring that shit back. Like, I suspect that we're going to see some real public shit. Like within my lifetime, we're going to see these guys do some like absolutely crazy nightmare shit. Because I don't think they're going to be able to help themselves. Like, I really think it's going to get them off. Like, we recently had like Prince Harry talking about how he murdered 25 people in Afghanistan. Saying things like, yeah, I didn't really see them as people, I saw them as chess pieces. Like, this is the ruling class. This is what they're doing. Right? Like, yeah, I can't even get an erection unless I see someone's life leave their eyes. Like, that's the kind of people these people fucking are. And we're all fucking going to work for them. Ooh. And in the meantime, El Nino event is coming in 2023. How is it forecast to emerge, and what does it mean for seasonal weather and the next winter season? La Nina is breaking down, and an El Nino event is forecast to emerge in 2023. Returning after several years, an El Nino can completely change the weather pattern for weather seasons in 2023 and 2024, especially during the winter season. Ocean anomalies and especially their changes can significantly influence seasonal weather patterns, perhaps even more so in winter when the pressure systems are strongest. One of the most well-known global weather modifiers is the El Nino event, which is returning in 2023. Dude, 2023 is really shaping up to be a shit of a year, right? Like 2023 is really shaping up to be a year where we're just gonna get fucked over so hard. Like the not only is the economy crashing, inflation is skyrocketing, all of the reforms and all of the things they're attempting to do to go after, like, I shouldn't even pretend anymore. They're not attempting to do anything about inflation. They're using inflation, which is just price gouging. So they're using price gouging as an excuse to jack up the interest rates so they can bankrupt more people so that the wealthy class can just continue extracting resources, right? All of that is going to come to a head. And then on top of that, we're all going to go through fucking El Nino. 2023 is going to be a shit show. It's going to be a total fucking shit show. And I bet you anything Trudeau is going to call an election in the middle of it. That, like, while the shit show is happening, while the catastrophes are exploding around us, Trudeau is going to be like, please, finally, give me my majority. Give me my majority so I can continue subserviating us to the billionaire class. Please, the billionaires don't have yet enough money, yet enough wealth. We need to do something to help the femibillionaires. The femibillionaires! What we need is more feminine and more women billionaires, and then everything will be better. We need to make sure that every woman in the world is capable of being a CEO girl boss. And then you can be a femibillionaire. And then everything will be better, I promise. Just please, please, Canada, give me my majority. Watching people actually defend these liberals is mind-boggling. Like, it's mind-boggling to watch people actually, like, oh, dude, this is an article. I can't believe this article exists in the Globe and Mail. Like, you know shit's gone fucky. You know shit's gone fucky if an article like this is showing up in the Globe and Mail. As a reminder, the Globe and Mail is owned by the richest Canadian, David Thompson. I am more or less of the opinion that David Thompson himself writes a lot of these articles. Like, I genuinely think that when you see an article that is by the editorial board, I think that this is actually David Thompson himself. And that he just uses this as a cover to make sure that nobody actually can peg him with these ideas. Right? So this is the quote-unquote editorial board. But it's owned by David Thompson. So these ideas are at least in the wheelhouse of the Thompson metaverse, right? And listen to this. This is crazy to me. The conspiracy to inflate food prices is real. It's time to rethink supply management. The Globe and Mail has uncovered a wide-ranging conspiracy to inflate food prices, a dastardly scheme that has driven up the costs of basic groceries even as inflation pinches household budgets. Even worse, this plot has existed for decades, enriching the conspirators at the expense of Canadian families year upon year. We speak, of course, of agricultural supply management and its marketing boards, whose aims are not so much about marketing as they are to constrain supply, to dampen innovation and competition, and to keep prices elevated. There have been lots of conspiracy theories swirling around of late about what is behind the increase in food prices, which have outpaced the general rate of inflation. The leader of the NDP, for instance, remains convinced, without citing anything approaching solid proof, that corporate greed, so-called greedflation, is the culprit. The House of Commons Agriculture Committee is busily digging into the issue, calling grocery industry executives in for a grilling in December. Absent from the invitee list was anyone from, say, the Canadian Dairy Commission, who might be able to give a detailed explanation to Canadians as to why it felt the need to raise its benchmark price 3 times in 12 months. Politicians of all partisan stripes are quite studiously averting their attention from any scrutiny of supply management. It's unsurprising, but still disappointing, that no party is willing to challenge the entrenched interest of farmers benefiting from supply management. The media, too, is myopic for the most part, as evidenced by the recent ruffled feathers over eye-popping prices for chicken. A host of possible reasons were cited, price gouging chief among them. Nowhere was there a mention of the supply management system that props up poultry prices. But a stroll through recent inflation statistics reveals some interesting patterns. The price of fresh or frozen chicken purchased in stores, for one example, rose 10.8% last year through to December, slightly higher than the overall inflation rate of food purchased in stores, 10.6%. Dairy product prices in stores rose even more, jumping 11.8%. Eggs rose 19%. All of those supply-managed foods outpaced the general rise in inflation of 6.9% for that time period. By contrast, pork prices actually fell slightly over the first 11 months of last year. That's not just a matter of timing. Pork prices also have not kept pace with inflation since the disruptive arrival of the pandemic in early 2020. Egg prices, meanwhile, have risen by more than double the general inflation rate over that same span. It doesn't necessarily follow that egg producers and other farmers protected by supply management are pocketing those benefits. The cost of energy and fertilizer has risen. Transportation costs will always be an added expense in a country as far-flung as Canada. And it is certainly possible that some grocers are acting opportunistically to jack up some real retail prices. What is certain is that supply management is playing some sort of a role, and that the Commons Agriculture Committee should scrutinize that role as part of its inquiry into food inflation. How, for instance, did the Dairy Marketing Board, run by and for dairy farmers, calculate its increase, including an extraordinary emergency rise last fall? Sylvain Charbois, director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, argues that the decisions of the Dairy Board, among others, should be spelled out in detail for the public. Professor Charbois contends that governance needs to be changed as well, ending the spectacle of the dairy industry deciding how consumers can best benefit the dairy industry. There should be a broader debate about the benefits of supply management. As a policy to keep the family farm intact, supply management has been a notable failure. Still, without some sort of marketing restrictions, the dairy industry, at the very least, would be unlikely to hold out against U.S. competitors with lower energy costs and greater economies of scale. Professor Charbois and others believe that the system can be reformed with greater, but still circumscribed exposure to competition that would spur more innovation. It may be that Canadians, fully informed, will agree that the benefits of supply management outweigh the costs, but that overdue debate needs to start with the recognition that Canadian consumers pay that bill. This is fucking union busting. Like, this is the same as fucking union busting. It's the same fucking narrative that we've seen over and over and over again coming out of the psychopath class, where they are saying what we need to do is let the free market decide. Let competition in. That will certainly do it. We need to lift these prohibitive restrictions. We need to allow competition in, i.e. allow our corporate buddies to come in and monopolize the industry, which is exactly what they're arguing for here. Like, these people are psychopaths, and they are never going to have a come to Jesus moment. It's never going to happen. They will literally poison the water and the land and the air on purpose and laugh with each other giddily in their bunkers with children they rape. This is who these people are, and they can't stop it. They never will. Oh. El Nino means temperature will rise globally in a drier year for the north of North America. Guess that means I have to capture a few extra 100 gallons of rainwater. Good tip. I'm here for you, Grinning. I'm here for you. These percentages are way low. They only measure the month, quarter, since the pandemic prices of those goods are up over 100%. Yep, he wants us to be rid of any form of central planning. Exactly. Right? It's not even a 5-year plan anymore. It's literally any plan. Yeah, we fully encourage competition. Competition breeds innovation. Meanwhile, they smother out any and all competition. Exactly. Right? Like, the truth is that they don't want competition. And they see these boards, right? They see these organizations as competition to be snuffed out. That's what they're trying to do. That they don't want to compete with these guys, right? They don't want to deal with them. They want to kill them in the cradle. Like, and again, we all just keep fucking going to work for them. Meanwhile, from the Maple, here's what Canada's grocery giants are telling their shareholders while prices soar. Oh yeah, my other favorite thing about that previous article, right? My other favorite thing about that previous article is how they scapegoat family farms, right? Yeah, it's certainly not the main beneficiaries, the billionaires who are making more money than they ever have, right? It's certainly not the people who are actually making more money at the end of the day, which is the billionaire class. No, it's got to be the family farms. That's the problem, right? This certainly isn't an attempt to bankrupt more farmers in order to hoover up their land for ourselves as we collapse into a neo-feudal structure, right? Yet India is in the process of destroying family farms. Can't have independent producers. They must all be subjected to the hierarchy. The hierarchy. Fucking Nazis. Here's what Canada's grocery giants are telling their shareholders while prices soar. Shoppers at Loblaws in Toronto were stunned to see a packet of 5 chicken breasts priced at $37. As noted in yesterday's newsletters, shoppers at Loblaws in Toronto were stunned last week to see a packet of 5 chicken breasts priced at $37, prompting many to accuse the grocery giant of price gouging. It's not an accusation, it's a statement of fact. Anger of the hefty price tag, followed by a Canada food price report published in December that suggested food prices will increase by 5 to 7% in 2023, after 2022 saw record hikes in costs. In particular, vegetables are expected to see the highest price increases this year, with anticipated rises of 6 to 8%. Defending the high price tag on its chicken, Loblaws told reporters the product was of a premium quality and was priced similarly to comparable products offered by its competitors. The company also blamed inflation, the thing that they are doing on purpose. The price of poultry has increased over the last season or so across North America for a number of reasons, including demand for us to increase prices, and disease, the disease of our brain that we have in our head to convince us to raise prices. Left unsaid, however, was the rising profits recently enjoyed by Loblaws and other major supermarket chains. In previous news reports, grocery executives have insisted that their profit margins have remained flat since inflation kicked in. But what are these companies saying to their shareholders. In its most recent quarterly report, Loblaws posted that it has increased its retail section adjusted gross profits to 30.8%, boasting to its shareholders that it had delivered positive financial and operating performance while advancing its growth and efficiencies initiatives. The retail giant claimed that despite soaring increases in food prices, it had tried to moderate cost increases and provide superior value. Empire Co., a conglomerate that owns major supermarket brands like Sobeys, Safeway, Freshco, and Thrifty Foods, posted a net earnings increase of 8.3% in its second quarter update and a 10% increase in its dividend value. In its 2022 annual fiscal report, Empire recorded a net earning increase of 6.3% and assured shareholders that the company was thriving. Chairman James M. Dixon explained, "We have met or exceeded every goal we set for ourselves. It has been a privilege to witness Empire reach $30 billion in fiscal 2022. Meanwhile, Metro recorded an adjusted net earnings increase of 9.4% in its 2022 fourth quarter update, with food sales up by 8%. CEO Eric LaFlèche hailed a strong performance in his letter to company shareholders. In the previous quarter, Metro saw net earnings increase by 9%. What's the rate of inflation again? It's about 9%. Interesting. These guys, all the numbers are about like 9-10%. Yeah, interesting. Interesting how their profits have gone up 9% and inflation went up about 9%. Isn't that interesting how that happens? Oh my God, it's almost like those things are collected to one another. Overall, Canada's top grocers enjoyed above average profits in 2022 relative to the past 5 years, with Loblaw in particular beating its previous best results by $180 million in the first half of last year, according to a Dalhousie University report. In October, grocery chain profits increases, dubbed greedflation by the NDP, prompted a unanimous vote in Parliament supporting a Federal Agriculture Committee investigation, which will see grocery chain executives appear before the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Agriculture. I hope that these, but no, they're going to get like so soft-handed, right? They're going to go stand in front of the Parliament and be like, we're supposed to be making money, and it's good for the economy because that trickles back down. And the Liberals and the NDP are going to grab them by the head and be like, pretty bird, oh, you're so right. Oh, you're so right. Meanwhile, the Conservatives will be literally jerking them off, being like, you are a god king, an Ayn Rand industrialist that stands atop the sphere of humanity. We demand to simp for thee, and thee are correct. And meanwhile, Justin will be like kissing him on the side of the cheek, being like, I'm so sorry that we have to do this, but the poor proletariat, the poor working class, they think that your price gouging is bad. They don't understand how precious you are. Like, that's all that's going to happen. Right? And we're all going to watch it, just like we watched the psychopath go take a kid out of the daycare, and we're all just going to be like, yeah, better get to work. Take a darnging dinger, darnging dinger, darnging dong. We are unsmart. Very unsmart people. It's cool that they're like literally just like, yeah, our profits are up by about 10%. Yeah, what? Inflation is up 10%? Those two things aren't connected. There's a lot of things that are going on, in the world. Inflation's up exactly the same amount as our profits are up, but that's gotta be a coinky-dink, There's a lot, I think it's the Ukrainian war, That's what's really going on, industrial food production tends to be more dependable than small farms. We probably need a better mix of the two. It's a conundrum. I say that we nationalize all this shit and we get rid of these people. I think that Loblaws and Sobeys and Metro and all of these places should be nationalized. And we should tell all of these shareholders and owners of these corporations to go fuck themselves. Like, literally. And then we should raise the tax rate over $1 million by 100% to take their pilfered wealth away from them and literally tell them when they whine and complain about it to go get a job. They should go fuck off. That if that's the worst thing that happens to them, they get off lucky. Like, that's my position. Like, I'm over pretending like we need to negotiate in good faith with these people. These people are psychopaths. They don't care about the damage and the destruction that they wrought on the civilization and the society. They don't care. Right? We should take the toys away from them and tell them to go get completely fucked. Are we going to do that? Nope, gotta get to work. Are we even going to try to vote for, like, an option that would even scare the liberals or the conservatives? Wow, that turban's pretty scary, though. I don't know about that turban that guy's wearing. That's pretty scary there, you know. Then if you go and actually talk to the NDP about this, they're like, I don't know if that's true. I think Canadians are normal, rational people, capable of making good policy decisions for themselves and the people around. Oh, what, the boomers literally are destroying the planet and telling their children to go fuck themselves? Literally doing that? Oh. That's fine. They'll come to their senses. You know, there'll be a real come to Jesus moment, you know. We'll all unify and come together as a people. That's a serious thing that's happening and a thing that should be said by people who are serious. Yep. Uh-huh. Like, just never thought it would go down like this, you know? Like, I just never thought it would actually go down like this. That, like, I always sort of assumed throughout my younger life that people would even care about their own children. That's, I think, the thing that sort of stuns me the most. Even now, I think the thing that sort of stuns me the most is that I always was operating from a basic principle and a basic premise that parents would actually care about their children. And it's been really, really weird. It's been really weird watching this society and the parents of this society literally actively abandon on purpose their own children. It's been pretty stunning to see. And at this point it's about as obvious as it can get that is exactly what is happening. That the parents, that our parents are literally just shrugging at us, saying, get a better job, for a society that they themselves that they themselves are responsible for dismantling. It's crazy what's happening. Like, has there ever been another example of a society that is built on the principles of total abandonment to this scale? I can't even think of a time in human history where it's been like this. Like, it's wild to watch. Like, it's wild to watch that even the most basic of instincts have been completely removed. We've lost even the basic compassion for our own children. It's crazy. It's crazy. Grinning guys, problem with relying on industrial food production is when it comes to emergencies such as it is no longer profitable. Local healthcare and food energy production should be priorities. Like, why are we even talking about profitability at all? Like, for real. Like, we got to make sure that the food people eat makes paper dollars for us. We got to make sure that the money that we made up in the first place, that's what matters more than people eating food. Like, it's insane. Like, it is brain rot. Like, we're children. We're literally children playing a game, being like, gotta get the paper money, gotta get the paper dollars. That's what matters more than food. Paper dollars matters more. You know, the stuff that they can just punch into a computer screen and give to whoever they want. That's what really matters. The circulation of that and the accumulation of that matters so much more than actually getting food into people's bellies. That's for, like, no wonder we're collapsing. Like, no wonder we're declining. Right? Like, and we think we're going to go fight a fucking war? We literally think we're going to go fucking fight a war against a society that's like, no, feed people. Get these people out of poverty. Get them into houses. Put food in their faces. Educate them. Make them strong. Make them powerful. Let them pursue their education. Go to school. What? No debt? Shut up. Debt? Fuck you. Get out of here. We need a highly educated, highly informed, highly robust, physically fit, ready to go population at any time. There's 1.4 billion of us. We got a bunch of men that are standing around in fighting form, ready to go. We're designing technology specifically in order to fight against the threats of the world. And we're sitting here like eating big fat cheeseburgers on couches that were made by the Chinese, saying, we're the best. What? We're the best country in the world. They want to build a rail? We're gonna go over there and we're gonna beat them up. Like, you think we're gonna fucking win? Get the fuck out of here. Like, get the fuck out of here. We're too childish for that. Like, we're too babyish for that. Like, we're gonna get fucking steamrolled by those guys. And I don't think it's going to be close, by the way. Like, yeah, we got a lot of hardware. Like, we got a lot of shit we've built up, but we're very stupid. We're very stupid and arrogant. And it's the arrogance that's going to do us in. It's the hubris is what's going to do it. That we're going to go in there, all bluster and shock and awe, like we call it. We're going to go in there and be like, yeah, America! Fuck yeah! Blah, blah, blah. And we think the Chinese are going to be like, oh no! Whatever shall we do? And the Chinese are going to go, and they're going to take all that, and then they're going to go, and blow us the fuck up. And blow us the fuck up. And when that happens, exactly, Vincent, China has financial, productive, and defensive logistics tied down. When that happens, our free market system is going to eat itself. Because everyone's going to collapse into, it's going to be like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Everyone's going to collapse into consolidating their own power and their own wealth. Right? When the Chinese actually start fighting back. And the Chinese are just going to go, we are China. And the Chinese are going to rebuild like that. They're just going to, right? It's going to be like we're fighting a villain, and we're going to blow off an arm, and they're just going to go, right? And their arm is just going to come right back. And then they're going to blow off one of our arms, and our arm is going to go, like, we've got a lot of shit. We got a lot of hardware right at the moment. But China's manufacturing capacity, its ability to build back, is way better than ours. And if you think that China is strong at the moment, you wait until you rouse that dragon. You wait until you rouse that dragon. You wait until 1.4 billion highly educated, highly trained, highly aware, class-conscious Chinese citizens have a gun in their hand and are sitting in buildings shooting missiles at your cities. Like, you think that this is a fucking game? You fucking wait. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And the idea that we're just going to go in there and be like, yeah, Team America, fuck yeah. Like, embarrassing. Ugh. And Vincent, I don't want to avoid this comment. By the way, good to see you, Vincent. Glad you're here. You're catching me in a mood, bud. You're catching me in a mood. I'm not even doing the TikTok stream, and I'm just like, and you know what? Like, I'm glad that I'm not doing the TikTok stream today because it's letting me really open up. I got to be a bit more reserved with the TikTok thing because TikTok's like, oh, you said the word Oliver Stone. You're suspended. Like, so obviously, like, CIA pilled. Like, so obviously. Turkey has blocked Finland and Sweden from joining NATO. Yeah, because they're not fucking crazy. Right? Like, the truth of what's happening in Ukraine is that NATO knows that it's over. Right? Like, I don't think I'm saying anything controversial there. The algorithms seem to think so. Right? But I'm not saying anything controversial there. We have major military generals in the United States military saying that trying to push Russia out of the Donbass region would be a military adventure that we simply cannot embark on. We don't have the resources. We don't have the resources to do it. Literally, it's taking all of their resources to maintain the line they have now, to trade Ukrainian blood for the stability they have on the line, on the Donbass line right now. Right? And a big reason why they're not being pushed back is because the Russians don't want to. That the Russians are like, we got the territory that we claimed that we wanted. This is what we wanted. We've achieved our war goal. Like, this is ours now. You're not getting it back. Right? And they're not interested in pushing out. They're not interested in seizing the rest of that territory. They're not interested in doing any of that. They haven't stated that that's their goal. They haven't changed their tune at all. They've been very consistent in everything they've said, right? So from the NATO perspective, all NATO can do now is either surrender, concede defeat, which they eventually will, because that's all NATO actually does, unless they're picking on a helpless kid with no military, like fucking Libya or Iraq or something. Or they can just keep funneling weapons into Ukraine on behalf of the weapons manufacturers, only which something like 15% of those weapons reach the front line. So NATO is literally flooding the black market with arms, is what they're doing. Straight up is what they're doing. And they must know it. And so NATO's not NATO is definitely psychotic, but NATO's not suicidal. Not on purpose. And allowing Finland and Sweden to join NATO is suicide. And so what are they doing? They're having Turkey, right, who is this sort of like weird intercessory between all of this, right? They're having Turkey basically be the bad guy in the conversation for Finland and Sweden and for the rest of the West to be like, we're not going to let that happen. And so all of us Westerners, all of us fucking fat-ass, dumb, opioid-addled idiots here in the West will be like, Turkey is bad! Turkey's on the side of Russia! You're gonna get fucking Rachel Maddow being like, what is happening in Turkey? And has Turkey been taken over by a Russian bot farm? Like, literally this kind of like blue mega crazed nonsense that comes out of Rachel Maddow. And it's all just because NATO knows that it can't win that war. It's well aware that it can't win that war. And it's attempting to pivot to East Asia and build up capacity in East Asia. They're openly talking about it, right? They're openly talking about it. And so they're not going to funnel the resources that's actually required to win that conflict. So all they're trying to do is sell weapons. That's all they're doing. Literally all they're doing is selling weapons. And so they don't want Finland and Sweden to join NATO because that would escalate the war, right? And they don't want that. The way things are right now is exactly the way the United States and NATO want it to be. They want it to be this stasis capsule where they're constantly funneling weapons to the Nazis in Ukraine to fight and die against a wall of steel that is the Russian military, right? That they'll give all of these people, the Ukrainian Nazis, weapons, and then they'll just go and blow themselves up, and then give another batch more weapons, just over and over again. And if they can do that perpetually forever, and just keep manufacturing weapons to give to these Ukrainians so they'll die against the Russian army, cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And they'll do that until there's nothing left of Ukraine, right? And you've got people in Russia saying some really interesting things about what could possibly happen out of all of this. One of the most interesting things that I've heard, and I think that this is a really fucking interesting idea, is the idea that Hungary and Poland can invade Ukraine and just split up the remaining territory amongst themselves. Like, what's actually going to stop them from doing that? Like, for real. Like, if Romania, Hungary, and Poland and Slovakia or whatever, like, if these countries here just decide, oh, Ukraine's really weak. They've been blowing their army up against the Russians over here for like a year and a half now. Like, they don't have a fighting force. They don't have the capacity, right? Meanwhile, we've been building up our military. Why don't we just take this territory right here? Why isn't this territory just part of Poland, right? Why don't we take, like, Luhansk or, this region here, right? This region here. That's part of Poland. We've got a claim on that, right? Lviv could be part of Poland. Right? This section here, this whole thing could be part of Poland. And Hungary could be like, okay, if you're going to do that, right, then we're going to come over here. Hey, the Svenjar National Park, you know, or Urban Horde. Right? This section here, right? This is traditional Hungarian land, right? Ethnic Hungarians live here, right? They'll come. Why don't we take a piece of that, right? It's absolutely the truth. Why can't they do that, right? Why can't they do that? Hey, you know what, man? Belarus is right there. Man, wouldn't that be crazy if Belarus just, like, came in and just decided the capital of Kiev is just wide open? You know? Like, what happens if these countries start to just tear Ukraine apart? Who's going to stop them? Who's going to stop them? And so if you ask me, Turkey blocking Finland and Sweden from joining NATO, that's not Turkey going rogue and standing up against NATO and the U.S. empire and saying, no, we need to find sanity and capacity. That's literally the United States and NATO saying, yeah, we got to prevent this escalation because we like turning this place into a sacrifice zone for capital. That's what they're doing. They're turning Ukraine into a sacrifice zone for capital. They're turning it into hell, and they keep funding the demons. That's what it is. When you come to the realization that for far too many adults, harming those they believe to be inferior is more important to them than their own kids' lives. Case in point, the Q Club shooter's dad. I mean, yeah, that's actually a really interesting point. Like, that guy was, he wasn't like, is my son okay? He was like, is my son gay? He was more concerned about his own image. He was concerned about needing to be like, oh no, my son is gay, instead of, is my son alive and okay? Like, the profit motive is a real point of friction in an economy. Capitalist economics are a huge disadvantage for sure. Yeah. Well, because I mean, a big problem that capitalist economies have is that they can't unify. Like, it's every man for themselves. And so they'll all get behind an idea, but once that idea starts going south, they'll just start to vulture it. Right? They don't know how to double down. They don't know how to unify behind each other. They'll straight up just like push lambs to the slaughter kind of shit. Right? Scapegoats, all of this. And there's never a moment where they actually like turn to one another and say like, okay, what happened? Let's regroup, make another plan. Like they're just fucking crazed maniacs. Yeah, any business has to produce 5 to 20% more just to pay the capitalists. Non-profit economies are a real threat, yet thus the incessant bombing, exactly. Yeah, America's going to lose this war. The billionaires are going to fuck off to their islands. Yeah, exactly. China is yeah. I just recently did a rewatch of One Punch Man, the first season of One Punch Man, which is the only part of One Punch Man that's actually good. The second season of One Punch Man, I'm going to do a rewatch of it just so I can like really specifically articulate why it's a complete and total failure. Although I know why it's a complete and total failure, right? The show is about anyone but him, and the season rather is about anything other than him. And the journey that he takes is so fucking pointless. Like, he doesn't learn anything, he doesn't do anything, he's not really challenged. Like, it's but like, and the whole relationship that he has with like the superhero commission that he's a part of just seemed to not matter. Like, it was all in the background, and I'm like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? Like, this guy would be like under heavy surveillance all the time. Anyway. I'm putting shiitake spores to agar tonight. No need for a boss. No investors. No loans to pay. Production is fine by workers, not bank. Yeah. Production is done. Yeah. This is my mood the rest of the time, my guy. Yeah. Thanks, Vincent. I appreciate it. NGL NATO seems suicidal to me. No. There's a difference between suicidal and arrogant, right? Hubris can lead to suicide. But there's a difference between that and actively committing suicide. Yeah, racial matter. Journalism. All systems of forced social order would rather suicide than be overcome. What's the point in life if there's no more NATO nation ownership anymore? Yeah. A world without Ukraine sounds pretty okay to me. I still want to see Russia rolling into Lviv. No, they're just not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. Like, they're not going to do it. Like, why would they? Like, their goal is to take the Donbass region. They've done it. Now it's about securing the Donbass region. They've defeated the Ukrainian army, and now they've essentially defeated the NATO army. And so all that's left now is just this sort of piecemeal. It's essentially terrorism at this point, right? Like, if it wasn't for the fact that NATO was constantly funneling weapons into Ukraine, it would essentially just be thugs. It would just be street thugs, just street Nazis, basically. No, but this is the thing, dude, is I really don't think that Russia has to. Like, I actually think that, like, how much longer until, like, the legitimate fascists that exist within these places start actually thinking, like, wait a minute, Ukraine is weak. Like, Ukraine is weak. Like, these people don't have loyalty. They don't understand what that is. They're not sitting there thinking to themselves, like, oh, it would be wrong to invade Ukraine while it's weak like this. What are you talking about? Like, there's a massive fascist contingent in Warsaw. Hungary is essentially run by a fascist right now. Orban, right? Like, you're telling me that they're not having meetings being like, come on, we could take this. Like, what? Why not? What are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to send military forces over here? Well, what are they going to do? Yeah, they're already trafficking their women while their men die in the front line. Yeah. Like, this is turning into a real hellscape. Right? Like, how long has it been that Ukraine has not had power? Like, literally. Like, hasn't had power. How long has that been? It's been months now. Right? We're all talking about the cold winter and dealing with the winter. Well, there are huge sections of Ukraine that have no power right now. Right? Like, what is that? Ukraine without power? This was in December 26th. Power shortages persist. Nearly 9 million Ukrainians without electricity. It's like 20% of their populace. Like 18% of their populace has no electricity. Just doesn't have electricity. Like, shut off the electricity in your house. See how you do. It's -8. What's that in Fahrenheit for you Americans? 17. 17 Fahrenheit. $9 million. No power. Ukraine's winning the war, though. Ukraine's gonna beat those Ruskies. You just watch. They're gonna push those Ruskies out of there and they're gonna win that war. That's for sure gonna happen. 100%. We are very serious people. Dude, if Hungary or Slovakia or Poland or any of these places, if they move in and they start carving it up, like, what's the narrative going to be? What's the empire's narrative going to be? Are they literally going to turn to Germany and be like, time for the Fourth Reich? Time for the Fourth Reich, Berlin. Time to roll on into Poland. Stop them from carving that up. Better start a big conflict with Poland to stop them from carving up Ukraine. Like, is that where we're going? Russia only needs to take a few more cities until they have a free path to Kiev. I'm hoping they get aggressive. I don't think they will, dude. Like, I genuinely don't think they are. Like, I think that they are where they are. And they're going to hold that line and they're going to keep that territory. Unless something changes. Like, unless I start seeing something like their narrative hasn't really changed, right? Like, they're still on about this special operation, special military operation. They're talking about this territory. That's what this is about for them. Yeah, open war between NATO members would be glorious. Yeah, just, well, and pretty typical. Like, honestly, pretty typical. The irony is that this process of generating capital by selling arms to the meat grinder, NATO is escalating Russia's military readiness and experience. making future conflicts more difficult. I think that's true. Like, for God's sakes, like, Putin mobilized 300,000 troops. I don't know why this doesn't get brought up all the time constantly. Moscow took 300,000 people and sent them here. NATO sent nobody. War's over. War's over. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like, Russia sent 300,000 military personnel to the front line in Ukraine. NATO sent fucking nobody. Literally just burger eaters off the couch who cosplay as fighters. Walking into Ukraine being like, I'm here to fight the Ruskies. Like, that's not fucking serious. That's not real. That's not fucking legitimate. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care what kind of military hardware you give. I don't care. Unless you're literally going to start nuking people. Right? I don't give a fuck what you send over to Ukraine. They don't have air... Like the Russians have air superiority. The Russians have electricity. Right? And the Russians have 300,000 men. Ukraine got fucking nothing. Except a bunch more guns that only 15% actually reach the front lines. Like, what the fuck do we think is happening here? God, when Russia secures all its objectives and open hostilities cease, Westerners will say he didn't win, imagining war goals that Russia never pursued or claimed. That's exactly right, Vincent. I think that that's exactly what's going to happen. That eventually there will come a point where NATO will simply be forced to stop funneling resources into Ukraine because it's going to run out of money. It's going to run out of resources to do so. Right? It's going to want to pursue other objectives and do other things. Right? It's obviously not funneling the resources necessary to actually do any kind of real offensive in Ukraine. Right? Like, it's obviously not doing that. And it's actually openly, seriously talking about conflict in China, in the South China Sea. So how can it possibly maintain this if it wants to do this? Right? So it's going to stop. At the very least, it's just going to stop funneling resources into this. Right? And the news narrative is 100% just going to say exactly what you just said. That Putin lost. And they're going to say that Putin lost because he didn't take Kiev. That's what it is. We helped the Ukrainians hold the line against the Russian offensive. And though they lost a little bit of territory, we let them stand strong against the Russian force. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We looked Putin in the face, and when he approached the Zanapor River, we told him not 1 inch further. USA! 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 Ukraine stands strong. Ukraine stands united. Ukraine stands against the flow of communist tyranny that's coming out of Moscow. Like, this is what they're going to do. That's a Joe Biden speech right there. I just wrote you a Joe Biden speech on the spot. Like, that's what they're going to do. They're going to pretend like they won. They're going to talk as though they stopped the staunch. That the Russians are gonna, that the whole idea that they're gonna promote is the idea that Russia wanted to sweep across Ukraine, when Russia never said that. They literally said that their goal was to seize this territory, and they have. And then to demilitarize Ukraine, which they've done. And the next step is to denazify it. Right? To denazify this, which they're doing. Yeah, well, and fucking just the goddamn grease eaters are just gonna be like, that's right. If it wasn't for us, Ukraine would be part of Moscow. Yeah, Joe yells, get off my lawn, forgets they're still standing there, declares victory. Yeah. Like, I really do. I shouldn't say this. This is actually horrible. Like, I don't really believe this. Because what's happening in Ukraine is already fucking horrible enough. Like, really? But I really do hope that, like, Poland and Hungary just start peeling pieces off of it. Because nothing would absolutely dismantle the West's delusional narrative about itself than the other countries around Ukraine just starting to consume it. Like, just starting to consume it. Like, for real. I know yeah, just lift the fucking facade. Just rule nakedly. Right? Like, they're going to eventually. Like, the powerful in the country, like, we are going to elect, like, a straight-up Nazi president. Like, it's going to happen. We're going to have a president that outright... I mean, Bush was pretty, like, fucking Nazi level. Like, he was talking about this invasion of Iraq. He was saying, like, we're going to launch a crusade into the Middle East. We're going to go in there. He literally went to NATO. He went to the UN and said, you're an irrelevant institution and you're either with us or against us. Like, he fucking literally went rogue without the NATO allies and went into Iraq by himself, basically. Blew up 1 million people and created this whole fucking quagmire of ridiculous nonsense that's still unfolding today. Like, and then he goes on Ellen and everybody's supposed to be like, and Ellen's all like, we need to forget the past and come together and unify, fucking imperialist bitch. I hope she rots in hell right beside him. I hope the two of them are, like, tortured by the same demon. I hope that happens. Like, just an unbelievably unholy person. Literally clutching onto a Bible that he uses as a justification to literally launch a crusade. Like, if you go into the Middle East, they talk about George Bush as another crusade. That it's... I think if you literally type in history of crusades... No. It's... I know that at one point there was a Wikipedia article about it. Other crusades... The Last Crusades. There was a period of time, I remember this, where the Wikipedia article included this reference. George W. Bush's Crusade. George W. Bush's Crusade. Yeah, like here's a... Europe cringes at Bush crusade against terrorists. Yeah. Ellen was just trying to raise awareness about climate change and for all of us to do our part. I think she's great. Yeah, right. Fucking imperialist whore. Like, get the fuck out of here. Not you, Ellen. Today, millions of Americans mourned and prayed, and tomorrow we go back to work. Today, people from all walks of life gave thanks to the heroes. Heh. They mourn the dead. Heh. And they ask for God's good graces on the families who mourn, and tomorrow the good people of America will go back to their shops, their fields, American factories, and go back to work. Our nation was horrified, but it's not going to be terrorized. We're a great nation. We're a nation of resolve. We're a nation that can't be cowed by evildoers. I've got great faith in the American people. If the American people had seen what I had seen in New York City, you'd have great faith too. You'd have faith in the hard work of the rescuers. You have great faith because of the desires for people to do what's right for America. You'd have great faith because of the compassion and love that our fellow Americans are showing each other in times of need. I also have faith in our military, and we have got a job to do. Just like the farmers and ranchers and business owners and factory workers have a job to do. My administration has a job to do. And we're going to do it. We'll rid the world of the evildoers. We will call together freedom-loving people to fight terrorism. And on the Lord's Day, I say to my fellow Americans, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your compassion. Thank you for your love of one another. And tomorrow, when you get back to work hard like you always have. But we've been warned. We've been warned there are evil people in this world. We've been warned so vividly, and we'll be alert. Your government is alert. The governors and mayors are alert that the evil folks still lurk out there. As I said yesterday, people have declared war on America, and they have made a terrible mistake. Because this is a fabulous country. Our economy will come back. We'll still be the best farmers and ranchers in the world. We're still the most innovative entrepreneurs in the world. On this day of faith, I've never had more faith in America than I have right now. Like, what a line of total fucking goddamn bullshit. Like, what a fucking bullshit. Like, literally sounds like something that's said from the pulpit. Like, straight up just like, Jesus Christ is coming down from the heavens at any moment, and he'll separate the good from the evil and the bad from the good. And if you want to be on the side of the great Lord Jesus Christ, then you got to give more money to the church. Please fill out the envelope that we send you down below and send it to the postal code you see down below. Postage included. Entrepreneurs. The French don't have a word for entrepreneur. Check out the George W. Bush Singers, or the George Bush Singers. Bro, what are you doing to me right now? What are you doing to me right now? Alright, I want to listen to this. We're at the end of the stream. We need more of this, John. Dude, like, maybe I should... Where was this? Where the fuck was I reading this? Yeah, this is from the White House itself. Like, this is just like the White House archives, right? I should just read these people's speeches. Like, for real. Like, I should just read their fucking speeches. Like, how do I find Joe Biden's speech? Joe Biden's speech. Like, Joe Biden's speeches. How do I find these? Archives. Yeah, here we go. Speeches and remarks. Remarks by Prime Minister. Remarks. Experts or remarks. Remarks. Like, what about that speech where he was talking about the MAGA people? Remarks. All remarks. I don't care about remarks. Readout of assistant. Nah. Like, how do I do a search and find a speech? Can I go speech? Speech. Speeches and remarks? Ah, well, anyway. Like, for fuck's sake, man. These people are psychos. Oh, yeah, I know all about the victims of communism's curriculum, dude. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Alright, guys. We've reached the end of this one. Always remember, Each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. The billionaire class is spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.